Hello and welcome to Indiepocalypse Radio, the number one game adjacent radio show on the internet. I am your host, Andrew, and I'm here to have a good time and think about the boss all night. Because sometimes you gotta sit down and you gotta think about the boss and go, is he any good? Is he uncool dad music? Or is he. The eternal question a friend once posed is that if Tom Petty, did I say this? I can't remember if I said this on radio once, but if Tom Petty was not popular, would he be a revered within like the music canon? And it's something I think about a lot in terms of like how much popularity moves people away from canonization. But that's one thing, and we are here with another thing, which is talking to guests. Our first guest, you may remember from this very show some number of episodes ago, or issue 10 of
10.
Indiepocalypse. 10, yes, you got it.
Number 10. And I was the very first episode of Indiepocalypse Radio, so it's easy to remember.
Yes. Or hard to remember because it was so long ago.
I remember because it was the only other one that I was on. So it's quite easy for me.
Yes. I've been around for a while. Yes, you are in the premiere episode, and you are the second returning guest. Welcome back, Sophie.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, I've been wanting to have people again, but then I always ask people last minute. But now I'm getting much better at.
Yeah, you've asked me a few times, a few different weeks, and every single time it had happened to be a day that I was not available. But...
Yeah. But now I am getting better at scheduling well in advance, weeks ahead. I give people 24 hours. If they don't respond, I move on to the next person and say, well,
wonderful.
They're never going to respond ever. And Now I have a question here.
Sure.
From our previous guest.
Sure.
This is the question. If you could snap your fingers and have something immediately implemented in your game, what would it be?
Oh Lord. Oh goodness. I mean, that's a tough one because as someone who makes visual novels, I could say so many things.
Also,
visual novels are just sort of a dressing that you can put on just about any type of game. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Yes, it's very important to note that this is the only thing that this magic finger snap works for. Everything else, you're back to you.
I'm going to say I always really wanted to make an RPG, but I'm not at that point in my development career where I could do that. So I would probably use it on that. I would probably make something into an RPG and just write the story and characters around it.
Okay, so not like a RPG on top of a visual novel as some things are.
I mean, sure. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
I'd hold off on my snap for a few days, probably.
Okay. Perfect.
Because God, I want to make like a Harvest Moon game eventually too. So that's another option.
Hey, so do I.
But I feel like if I implement the RPG mechanics and I can sort of use those to create a Harvest Moon.
Yeah, like once you got those tools already in there, you can just figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of visual novels, at one point on Twitter, I saw someone making a joke on the internet, as that people try to often do.
Uh-huh.
It was some sort of text cap with a subtitle, and on the person talking, it said Ryu Kishi. I was like, I know who that is now. I don't.
Oh, you remembered.
I don't get the joke still. But I know what that name is now.
You know what the name is.
Yes, I understand. That's something about visual novels.
Yes, sound novels, perhaps.
I think it might have been something about writing a lot of words.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. If anyone wants to know where I get my long-witted writing style from, it was certainly him.
Hey, what's your count up to? What's your? I feel like we had a count check-in that I forgot of how long.
Like a word count
of spare parts was. Yeah, what's your word count?
I don't remember. I I don't remember what I said back then, but it's still hovering around like 90 to 95,000
Okay,
words.
perfect.
I've made a lot of changes to the script in the last like month, because I've have a clearer idea of where episode 3 is going to be now. So I am thinking about pacing and those sorts of things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard it also sounds like it could be a tool for cowards, so I'm not sure.
You cut out in the middle there. You said something about hearing about a tool for cowards.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm talking about pacing being a tool for cowards.
Ah,
Um, I don't. I have
well,
some other questions here that I want to get through. These are actual questions from users.
users.
Users on those people that submit questions. Users.
Yeah, users have logged on to submit
Yes.
questions.
Some time ago, they went to this Google form. This is from Sean. It says, "What game development, AAA or indie, are you looking most forward to?" I'm not sure the context of that question, or if it makes sense considering I have all independent developers. Maybe it'll make sense for somebody down the road.
Wait, sorry, it asks AAA indie
Yeah, it says
like as separate things, just like
it
which
says
of
what
any of them?
what game I then there's an I don't know if that's a typo development.
Game in development.
Oh, yes, okay. You salvaged the question for me. Thank you. What game in development, AAA or indie, are you most looking
Okay.
forward to?
I mean, AAA wise, I am really looking forward to the Breath of the Wild 2 because the first game was so much of everything that I wanted in like an exploration sort of game. And that's sort of the thing I most appreciate about having my hands on a controller and moving around is
So,
just sort of exploring weird crevices and finding weird little environments and things to explore and climb around on.
what are your feelings on weapon durability?
I think it's fine. I
Okay.
mean, certainly it could have been touched up. I think they designed around the I think the one thing that I don't like about it, and it doesn't even have to do with the weapon durability itself, but I feel like at a certain point in that game, anytime you find a weapon, it's just like, well, I already have better than this,
Yeah.
or I already have this, like three of them sitting in my inventory that I don't use because I want to save them for something.
Yeah,
Um,
I enjoy because I enjoyed it a lot. I like just chucking weapons at people because I don't need them
It's
anymore.
good. That like critical hit you get when a weapon breaks is really really satisfying and clever. I really like that mechanic of it. But I do wish there was some sort of like permanence to like your arsenal of weapons, or not necessarily even permanence, but that I guess more than anything, I feel like I wish less of the rewards were just another weapon.
Oh yeah, that's
You
like kind
know?
of good. I also snuck into the castle very early on and got a lot of very sick weapons.
Yeah,
It's a good game. I enjoy it.
it's a
Hot
good game.
takes on Indiepocalypse Radio is, as always, hot takes, which is Breath of the Wild is
Thanks.
fun.
Um,
We
one
got
other I want to shout out
yes,
in the vein of visual novels that are not AAA Nintendo billion gajillion dollar games. I'm really excited for the last volume of the Flowers visual novel series, which is a Yuri visual novel series that has been very slowly being translated over the past like 4 5 years or so. And the third of four came out last year,
officially
and it was
translated.
yes,
Okay.
yes. I don't think there's any fan translation projects happening right now, really. But it's a series that has gotten much like more like every time a new one comes out, I kind of think like, oh well, this character I'm not like as interested in as the character that was central last time.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, my opinion has completely changed. I feel like the writing gets so much better each one, and
Okay.
it's been very good. I'm really excited for Winter to come out, which probably won't be until 2022 if I had to guess. So
Do what I do and just learn Japanese. That's my secret.
you got it.
On
I'm on
my
it.
on my secret quest to find my secret unspoken quest that is only for myself to find the one good queer manga in the world that
Oh,
adheres to my own rigid guidelines. I know it
well,
exists. I know it exists somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say that first part, you probably aren't looking in the right places then, because there's
Yeah, but
plenty of
it's like it's
those. But
gotta like
then, yeah,
I'm sick of high schoolers.
that's
I'm
fair.
I'm sick of like okay, so it can't be high schoolers. People have to be
That's
they got to be in relationships. Homosexuality needs to exist as a concept.
oof.
It can't be just like people of the or at the very least people of the opposite gender need to exist in
Yeah,
the yeah.
I get that's yeah. No, that's a tougher one.
Yeah, it's I mostly because like I fall ass backwards over it in like Western comics, just like
Hmm.
everywhere. I my anecdote is easily my easily brought up anecdote is I bought like a some volume one of some like Dark Horse thing that was like
Hmm.
it was a free shipping stuffer basically because it was like $5,
Hmm.
and it was like ends up being this weird polyamorous relationship between this female King Arthur and like an asexual Lancelot and the Guinevere, and it's like what?
Are you sure you're not reading Fate?
I'm fairly certain.
Okay.
No, it was
And
like, and that's just what I mean. I feel like the
I'm
closer I
just
get
making a
the,
bad joke.
yeah, yeah. I bet Fate has lots of subtext or something. I'm this
I would
is
describe it more as super text, but
it's always weird with me, mostly because
it's certainly easier to find I
yeah,
feel like a wider breadth of like small stories and small projects in like, wherever you're from and
right,
whatever language you
yeah.
were raised speaking.
I think that's the issue, and that's like it's more that what gets translated is like you know the very modern equivalent or
Yeah.
like the like very mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Whatever money can be put into to then be extracted from in a lot of cases.
exactly something safe and marketable
Yeah.
for like an international. They don't have to scrub it all for an international audience.
Yeah,
It's
I feel like that's less. I mean, these days it's a little
yeah,
easier to localize something on an indie level than it
right,
used to be, but even still.
yeah. It's weird, but anyway, that's a divergence into Andrew's manga quest because I heard like Yuri, huh?
Yuri,
Yuri.
it's good. It's out there. It's real.
Yeah, listen, I also like got like real mid aughts yaoi culture really poisoned the
Hmm.
well for like that for
Well,
me.
sorry about that because I was I was in there. I was supping of that well quite eagerly.
It really made me very hesitant to like get into anything that involves two men. I was like, I don't know about this. I feel like this is for just horny straight ladies.
I mean, certainly that was the prevailing culture of it at the
Yeah,
time in like our side of the world.
yeah,
But there's a lot more to it than that.
there is, but like it is poisoned my brain, and
I get you.
I know it's better than that, but there's that kind of like when you drink sour milk once in your life, and you're like, I never want to drink milk ever again.
Yeah, I get you. But I loved the sour milk.
No, I
I
listen.
loved all of the most trashy, problematic types of
Ah,
BL that you could,
listen. I
and I still do. I listen.
I dip my toe in occasionally. I read all of and really enjoyed Banana Fish, but that's like halfway
Mm,
there.
haven't gotten around to it yet.
It's like kind of, sort of, but not quite. It's not
Yeah.
just. It's not like your countries or your horny countries or you
Oh,
boys.
don't.
I'm not gonna say.
That's
I've said it
don't.
by name too many times on this show.
I'm just.
I'm not going to summon it, though apparently it still exists.
if there's one regret from that era that I have, I'm not. That's you
See,
know what I mean.
that's what it all looks like to me, to some extent.
Listen, listen. I got into some really big, really well thought out, like 50 to 100 page role play threads.
Yeah.
It was good.
Which country were you?
As a Oh, it was a lot of them.
Speaking of which country were you? This is from Morgana, aka Mystery Corgi. What is your writing process for the narrative aspects of your game, and how do you balance explicit storytelling with storytelling via game mechanics?
I mean, you're
I,
asking a visual novel
yes.
person, so
The parenthetical being disregard if certain games / visual novels don't have mechanical storytelling.
yeah, I mean, there's a little bit. I try to put in some breaks where you click menu icons just to sort of break down the structure and pacing of clicking through blindly. But
So I
generally speaking, if I'm writing something, I kind of just start writing and then I go back through it later and move things around and see if any new ideas come to me.
so I guess the question, a sounding similar question, would be how often do you consider like I guess prompt breaks from the main character?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Like
It
what deems
depends.
that? Besides, like, is it always like a branch or is it something?
Well, I mean, so with spare parts, I don't. It's a kinetic novel, quote unquote,
Right.
which is to say that I don't intend on having any like split paths or like major decision making things. It's kind of just a
Yeah.
format for a
I guess more.
story.
I guess more like a soft branch, rather.
Yeah, yeah. There are some sequences. I decided very, very late into episode one that I could do some little scenes where you very lightly choose from a list of options of like how to proceed dialogue or how to look around a space or what things to focus on, stuff like that. Um, and at this point, I kind of just whenever like the story calls for it, like if you're like having a conversation with a new character or you're like in a new space and you're like anticipating something to come up or something to happen, it sort of helps I don't know. I feel like it's a very easy way to very lightly engage someone with a visual novel, just
Yeah.
like a okay, there's a list here, I have to sort of blink a
Right.
couple times and look at it.
Yeah. If they hit tab, something's got to catch. They're like, oh, I guess I do have to pay somewhat attention to this game.
Yeah.
They can't literally fast forward through the whole thing.
Well,
I guess Ren.
I'm not gonna give them a bad end if that's what you mean.
I guess in Renpai technically can you fast forward past choices too, and it just picks one by default.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, it does hard stop you at choices.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, speaking of gameplay choices, this is
Hmm.
from Anonymous. How do you tell an indie dev that their game is bad and or taking too long?
Taking too long development wise or
I
to get
have no
through?
idea. Or just
Oh
like,
god.
why is it keep? Why is this game so long? Why am I still playing it?
I don't know that I would tell someone that.
Right.
I would if it was like a friend, I would sort of like I mean, I don't know. If it's something they want to be doing, that's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to me.
Right.
Like if it's something they want to put out for the sake because they like need to like say they need to promote something or they're looking to make some money from something or anything like that, then obviously on a pragmatic level I can have that conversation of like maybe it's worth it to put something smaller out now to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
But like generally I feel like part of the beauty of indie development is that you aren't beholden to like fiscal quarters and stuff like that.
And
Um,
it can be very messy and like who cares?
yeah, like actually, who cares for the most part? Just make your thing. Put it out when you want to put it out.
Yeah.
You can have different standards for yourself, obviously, but I think base level, just like it's fine. Just chill. Just you,
Yeah. And listen, if you make a bad game, the game please don't come and kick down your door and tell you you can't make games anymore.
that's happened to me actually. So
Well,
I'm not supposed to tell you this, but it has
oh
happened.
shit! Am I harboring a fugitive in Indiepocalypse?
No, I am calling from my parole officer's
Oh. Oh,
office.
okay. Okay. I was gonna say you've got very good audio quality for
It's
a prison phone.
this bit isn't anything. I'm sorry. Just let's just move on.
That's like,
I don't want to make light of the carceral state.
yeah, but You've tripped my one weakness, which is doing bits. But all
All
bits aside, um,
bits.
if this was a question for me because it's not addressed to anyone, and how do I
Uh-huh.
and I'll just answer that now in that context of how do I tell someone their game is bad? Like if they submitted it to the zine, for instance,
Mm.
I don't. So there's a waiting list, and you don't get the waiting list email. That's how you know your game is bad. If you just get the
Yeah.
generic one I send from Itch, that's how you know your game is bad.
Hmm.
That's if the and taking too long, I just stop playing them because I'm sick of this game. It's taking forever. I hate it and I don't like it.
That's fair. That's fair.
But that is all the questions I have from the guests.
Wow.
But we don't
Yeah.
need questions. Plenty of shows. I think the first no, actually we had a bunch of questions on our first episode, I think, or at least like 2 or 3 of them.
A couple. A
Yeah.
couple of them.
But I've gone through some serious dry spells in my day. So, question wise, of course.
Hmm.
So I think we can manage through without any questions. And
Yeah,
I
that's fine.
have been doing this for 14 episodes, so of course I can just come up with something to say.
Of course you
So,
can. I'm waiting.
okay, so what did you? So Nintendo Direct. Nintendo's in. Everyone loves Nintendo, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Um, if you like games made for children,
I
and
do.
um, what would you have? What is your ideal Nintendo Direct game? That is
Mm.
anything, anything that it could be. But I guess it has to be at least
Oh,
Nintendo related.
yeah. Well, I will say that the thing I'm most excited from this most recent one was Mario Golf because I'm a huge sucker for video game golf.
I One of my favorite things is the Camelot games for
Hmm.
like the GBA Mario and Golden Sun. It's confirmation dialogue boxes, which is
Hmm.
the guy shaking his head yes or no.
Hmm.
That's my experience with Mario Golf. Thank you. That was my time.
It's good. I like the. I miss the original characters from some of the older Mario Golf. I miss Plum.
Who is who is
She's just a girl who
okay?
golfs and hangs out with Mario and Bowser and all of her friends.
Oh, is that like GBA Mario Golf?
It was Mario 64 Golf
Oh, okay. Here
also.
she is.
Yeah, I like her.
Maybe she'll be back one of the hidden characters. I hear she's
Make
coming
a,
to Smash.
that would be nice. You can make a me of her.
Are you
I
sure
guess
she's
that's
not an
kind of
assist
okay.
trophy?
I mean, I guess when it comes to Nintendo Directs, I'm not usually looking for anything in specific besides like a few specific Nintendo adjacent games on the horizon that I'm looking forward to. Like I always really like what Monolith Soft makes. So I'm
Okay.
always excited to see what they put out. I'm always excited to hear about new RPGs.
Have you played through Xenosaga?
I haven't played it all the way through it. No, I really,
Okay.
really want to because it's such a weird, so like so up its own ass in ways that I absolutely love.
Yeah. I Okay, yes, I did get it right. The other one, I was like, did I get it wrong? No, I got it right. I have the first. Also, it's like stupid expensive now. I think
Probably, yeah.
I do have the first episode though, because I'm like, I like Xenogears. I'll get to the Xenosaga.
Well, I would say it's more Xenosaga is more similar to Xenogears than Xenoblade.
Yeah, but as in they ran out of the budget on the second half. And they started like
Mm,
it's a visual novel
mm.
now.
Well, if you consider that it was originally supposed to be longer than 3 episodes, then I suppose you could say that.
I feel like I feel like if you go to Japan, I feel like there is just like massive RPG franchises that span like, oh, there's 17 episodes, huh?
Yeah, like Shenmue was supposed to be.
Yeah, good luck with that one. I am a
Someday.
Shenmue apologist through and through.
I will not blame you.
It's weird. I I've never played the third one, but the first one is
Yeah,
bizarre and I love it. The second one is similarly bizarre and
yeah,
I love it.
absolutely.
I just like sitting around in the streets of China asking people if they want to play Lucky Hit.
Yeah, thinking
And
about sailors or
yeah,
whatever, doing the same forklift mini game every day for like a long time. Like that's just game design. That's just
Yeah,
storytelling through game design,
it's
baby.
honestly like just like going to a capsule machine and like, oh, I'm cranking it and I got these little Sonics and I can turn my
Yeah,
Fang.
look at this guy.
I can look at Fang the cowboy and like flip him over
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful. It's
I'm
beautiful.
with you. Shenmue is good. Shenmue 3, eh, I, I
Oh,
might I might have some opinions on, even as someone who has not played it.
yeah.
But I love like
That's so.
games. Like I said about Xenosaga, I love
Yeah.
games that are up their own ass about
Abs-
whatever they care about and nothing else. You know?
Absolutely. I will. And yes. What if game was boring too? Yes. What if game was boring too? I would love if game was boring. I am here to tell you, as number one Jean Dielman fan, I love boring ass stuff that
Yeah,
seeks to capture everyday life.
yeah.
But what is, Sophie, as we head on out of this segment, as we are approaching the end of it, because these
Yeah.
half hours
As I
fly
as I fade away into
as
dust.
you fade away into the muted portion of the Discord, and I make sure to queue up the correct screen I'm going to next. What is the most boring thing you did today?
I took a nap.
A midday nap?
Yeah, I
Okay.
woke up like as you were calling the Discord.
Oh, okay, okay. Then we got okay. This is a very important question. How do you nap?
I napped terribly, and I would not advise anyone to nap the same way that I do, which is anytime between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. I will just lay on my couch and fall asleep for a couple hours and
Okay.
then regret it, but have energy to do the things that I need to do.
Perfect. I remember reading a Kate Beat comic from forever ago about her dad sleeping dad style on the couch, like just like sitting and falling asleep. And then I've adopted that. I'm like, that is my ideal way to nap, or like backwards on my bed and using blank,
Mhm.
like unnatural ways so I don't fall asleep. Anyway, before we tr-
Probably.
before we transgress into like an infinite conversation about taking naps, we're gonna go to break instead. So, if you're
Yeah.
glad to have you back.
Thank you. I will nap more. No, I'm not
Not
gonna
don't
nap
don't
more.
nap yet, or actually you could nap. There's like an hour and a half between you and the group session.
It's fine. I'm
Um,
fine. I'm great today. Don't even just don't. I'm
Speaking of
fine.
great, we're going to break now, so we don't keep talking. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, that was, if you were there live, because someone mentioned in the chat, and I want to talk about it, that Electrolane version of I'm on Fire. I've been meaning to play Electrolane on the show for a while. They're like a defunct Scottish band. I think are they Scottish? They're somewhere over in those islands. I really like them. Um, and the original version of I'm on Fire is like kind of sleazy and that dude's sketchy, but I kind of like it. And this one is just like nervous and anxious and horny, and I also really appreciate that. And I respect everyone who, when they write their songs or when they cover songs, they don't change the gender, because people who change the gender in their songs are cowards. You know who's not a coward, though, I presume? That is our next guest. Oh no, I moved where the questions are. So, Damien, who you may know from issue 3 of Indiepocalypse, or just like on the internet making games, because I think I even knew about your games before Indiepocalypse. I'm like, that name sounds familiar. That game
Oh,
being,
I'm so sorry.
I have low stats, but my class is leader, so I recruit everyone I know to fight the Dark Lord. Damien, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I am doing very well. I am, yes, doing very well. So, as a first time guest, the important question that I gotta ask:
Mhm.
um, how did you find out about Indiepocalypse?
Um, it's been a while since issue number 3 now.
Yes.
I'm going to say just, well, I'm still like very indie. Like I still don't make any money off of my games.
Hey,
Um,
let me tell you about not making money.
yeah, no. I've been doing this for 8 years now. Like I am extremely aware of I'm still extremely indie. And so, yeah, I probably just heard it from somebody else who's in the same situation and was like, oh, yeah, there's this going on. And I'm like, oh, if it gets accepted, $20, huh?
Yeah.
That's food for a week for me.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's my hope. It's like $20 for people to not do anything. People should submit. That's
Yeah.
good.
And I mean, the game was done at that point.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck yeah.
That's really my intention. I don't, aside from our new hotly minted commissioned games,
Mhm.
one being Fun Guy Fantasy and Indiepocalypse, Fun Guy Fantasy 4, 6, fuck, I forgot which order it is. Anyway, is available in Indiepocalypse issue 13. We got commissioned games now because I was like, gamers love exclusives,
Mhm.
I guess. And I'm like, I hope it brings more money. It doesn't yet, but because it costs
Right.
more money. But I have a question here from a previous guest on the show. And that is, what are some of the most noteworthy things you've made by accident? Could be a bug in your game. Could be mashed potatoes in the exact shape of Mount Rushmore.
Thing I made by accident. That's tough. I would say that there's at least one point with that game because the original prototype, I was just trying to see like how totally messed up I could make an RPG. And so I was fooling around with the plugin and it showed like maximum number of battle characters you could have at one time. I was like, okay, well what does it do triple digits? Like let me see how many it goes. And then it shows them like trailing off the screen and I'm like, oh okay, there's a game here. Like
Does it do triple digits?
It does do triple digits, but I decided to keep it a little lower to be safe. So I kept it just like at the double digits at 99. So that was funny enough for me.
Does it go to the classic 255?
I don't know. I pushed it up to 100 and actually I did 106 because I wanted like a couple of summoning type characters, but then I decided like that was just too much of a hassle to implement correctly. So
why not go up to 108 and do what those cowards over at Konami were always afraid to do with Suikoden?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people, I've gotten some interesting comparisons for my games because people will be like, oh, is this like, Fire Emblem where you recruit all these or like Suikoden? And I'm like, I don't play any of those games, which is somewhat ironic because I'll hear about all these comparisons. I'm like, no, that's like, if anything, people are like, oh, is this like Chrono Cross? I'm like, kind of actually, yeah, because you do a lot of recruiting and figuring out what all of these characters even do.
Yeah.
But so many are so random.
Right, they do.
Yeah.
They all have their own like very specific, like weird little like niche things that they do.
Yeah, and of course just the variety. Like you don't just get warriors in the party; you also get like the town blacksmith and an ex-pirate, and your girlfriend who just uses a frying pan in battle. Like, yeah, great.
Much like Chrono Cross, even.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what I was meaning, but like in my game, there's still like, you still talk to like a merchant and recruit them, and the alchemist, and all sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of basically you walk around the beginning of your JRPG town and just add everyone to your party.
Yeah, it's great. I did get a lot of feedback early on, like, can you make this easier to do? So that's when I added in like an item to just get past that part quickly for the people that didn't care about the interactions. But then, some people actually still enjoyed the writing. So I was like, good, it was worth my time to spend like a month figuring out all these interactions with characters.
Yeah. How long does it take to make a bunch of character portraits and then give them all names? And how much personality do each of these characters have?
Yeah, I did so much. I have like just the worst looking. I have the spreadsheet is called Abomination because that's what it is. Like I open it up and there's like 30 tabs and there's just all these different assortments of things because there's all the skills, there's all the characters, all the character relationships with other characters. Oh my gosh, like it's so much. And there's not like a ton of character interaction all the time.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to really get the full scope of everything. But if you sit there and look at stuff, you'll understand, oh, okay, in this cutscene, these characters interacted, and now I'm realizing, oh, this character actually follows up on this other one's skills when they use them. Like, certain characters have passives that interact with what other characters do. Because that's what I wanted to do, was not just, the complete nonsense that is go ahead and try to play this game, just try it, but also having those sorts of interactions and how the gameplay aspect affects the narrative and vice versa.
Yes. Speaking of questions like gameplay aspects and interact with the narrative, what is your writing process from Morgana Mystery Corgi? What is your writing process for narrative aspects of your games? How do you balance explicit storytelling with storytelling via game mechanics?
Oh, of course. Okay, I know Morgana personally, like in real life, so
Okay.
that's amusing. Because she would know very well how this is.
Well, I don't know. You got to tell me, Damien.
Yeah, I know. I sit there and I just do a lot of writing. Like I first I sort out the different characters. Then I sit there and do like the branching. Like, okay, what characters do I want to have involved with each other at all? Then I have where I sit down and actually try to do like the character art for everybody.
Yeah.
And so related characters should look related, at least in some regard.
Right.
That's why, Josephine, the main character, she has mixed colored skin, whereas, her mom is white and her dad's black.
Yeah.
There's, a few different other characters, like the knight Ebba, who's the mom of one family, and then the dad doesn't look too much different, and then their son looks like a cross between the two of them. So it's a lot of like sitting there and making sure, like, okay, does this all match up? And then also going back through and going, okay, do I have enough actual variety in characters?
Yeah.
Making sure, like, do I have enough skin tone variations? Because that's, something that I personally hate in RPGs, is how often it's like, everybody's white, and I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Like,
yeah, that's including newest RPG from.
Yeah.
That's
also, character ages are very important to me too. So I'll sit there and figure out like how old are these characters, because so many of them I want them to be like experienced veteran characters, and I hate the trope of like the 6-year-old. It's like, oh, she's a genius at magic and will help you save the world. It's like, she's a literal kid that does not know the horrors of war. Let her stay home. Like, we don't need to be having that.
So not an RPG party of 15-year-olds.
No, like you have you have the youngest character's 10 years old because it's Livius the cat. Like, he's just literally a well-trained cat. Then the next youngest is Josephine at 18 years old, because typical RPG prophecy bullshit.
Right, you need to go off in your journey at a young age. You're the
and then And then, like, her parents are in their 40s. You've got a couple characters that are friends with Josephine who are like, early 20s. You've got like a couple 80-year-olds and stuff. It's just complete nonsense. And so I had to make sure there was at least like variety, because in a game, especially when it has this many characters, there's no excuse to not have diversity.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And it's a weird tendency I have when I play just like tabletop role-playing games, where I make all of my characters young because they're supposed to be inexperienced. And it's like, wait a minute. There's no reason that they have to be, but I'm like, in my brain, they're level 1. And they have to have like... Well, of course, that's why they're bad at things, or they're just like have some other reason why they're just like can't be... It's weird to make a seasoned badass, and then your seasoned badass is like, I have 2 hit points, and I'm level 1.
Right.
But I am very cool.
And also, it makes sense with to start off as playing a character like that, partly because there's the whole coming of age sort of thing that sort of entails. They have to come from a place of inexperience and grow as a person. And it's a great method to do that, is just having them start off young. Like, I understand having young protagonists that are inexperienced.
Right.
But then you can't have everybody that joins be like super young, and then the obligatory, oh yeah, now we have like the old wise character who's like 35, and it's like, okay, come on,
The
like,
grizzled, right? My
yeah,
grizzled 25-year-old veteran.
yeah, like I can't accept that. So that's like,
I'm the captain of the
sexism
guard.
and right, and like sexism and racism are absolutely rampant in just games in general, but there's also ageism, which I try to also,
Yeah.
include things about and put towards that.
Yeah, there's right. And not everyone it's something you see a lot if like when I watch older movies, I'm like, wow, older movies used to just star old dudes all the
Hmm.
time.
Right.
Just like, what's with all these old men who are just like not, by modern standards, camera ready old men? But speaking of other games, what game
Uh-oh.
development from Sean that is, AAA or indie, are you most looking forward to?
Um, Diablo 2 Remastered. I forget already what they exactly called it, but it's basically Diablo 2 Remastered.
Yeah.
Was just announced yesterday, and that seems. And I'm interested.
Okay.
I'm not super sold on it just because, um, Blizzard and the
Right.
stuff that they've been up to.
And
Um,
I can just like play my copy of Diablo 2 I already have, and I do sometimes.
right. Um, so I'm curious to see how it's going to go. If it turns out to, if people are like, oh yeah, this is absolutely a return to form, then I'm
Yeah.
like, great. Then I'm absolutely down for that. I don't have a strong laptop or any consoles or anything though, so I just outside of that, it's like I'm looking forward to whatever stuff I actually manage to finish. Like,
Right.
yeah, it's a dull life, but it's a good one.
Yeah. I had a weird experience when I was thinking of like I played a lot of Diablo 2, like
Hmm.
a lot of Diablo 2.
No, I right there with you.
And when I played Diablo 3, I'm like, what is missing here? It's fun to play and it that the game doesn't end,
Hmm.
that there's no way to win Diablo 3. There's like no
Hmm.
end goal. And so it's like, oh, games as a service are for people and I'm just not that person.
Yeah, like Diablo 3, I've probably sunk more time into Diablo 3 at this point, just
Yeah.
because as an adult who has their own, computer
Right.
that can dictate my own time. Um, but yeah, there's absolutely something about Diablo 2 I prefer more. I'm like, what exactly is it? And I think it's really just like with Diablo 3, they made it where you can select your skills and change your build on the fly. Whereas before, it's, you have very specific build paths that you want to go down and really cool individual stuff that you can do with characters.
Yeah.
Um, but also, yeah, it's so geared towards the um, almost sort of online competitive scene because you have the new season starts and people are competing to get to the top of the leaderboards on greater rifts and that sort of thing. And I mean, you still have that sort of with Diablo 2 with new
Right.
seasons,
Ladder.
and yeah, you've got the ladder. That's always been a thing, especially like hardcore and PvP in that game was actually existent.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas Diablo 3, they had like, well, you can go into PvP, but everybody does so much damage that you die instantly.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, there's definitely stuff that they did differently with Diablo 3, and I'm glad they explored it. But I'm hoping also that Diablo 4 is more like Diablo 2. Greater Rifts are cool, and I do like, the sort of easy farming thing.
Yeah.
But I would like to see like an actual core experience expanded on
Right.
and focused down on.
I will admit freely here on this radio show that I scammed people in Diablo 2 as a young teen, where there was a thing you could do where you would say, "Oh, I want to trade you this. You have to fill up your inventory in this way and get naked, and then I kill you, and you'll get like a Stone of Jordan or something."
Right.
And When really all it did was drop all their inventory, and I would take it and leave the game. And it worked more times than I'm proud to admit.
Well, I mean, I mean, first off, that's just a classic. But secondly, yeah, I mean, that's the sort of thing where it's like, you're really going to believe that? Like, game FAQs still existed at that time.
And I
Like, you
feel
could
like
have just checked.
I feel like I got like that from Game FAQs or something like that. I didn't invent that. How was I supposed to know it would work like that? But someone I saw somewhere had to do that, and then I did it, and it worked.
Mhm.
Did you do? What's your favorite Diablo 2 mule location? If you need to drop something off.
Um, I actually never liked dropping stuff. Like, it's the sort of reason that, like, I can't play those sorts of games. Like, even Borderlands 2 and stuff, I try to play it with friends, but most of them I can't, because, like, as soon as my inventory is full, I'm like, I gotta go back and sell some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't drop anything. I go back, I sell it, and then I come back and we start doing stuff again. And
Okay.
they're like, you don't need to keep picking everything up. I'm like, no, I need to.
Yeah.
Just before the pandemic, I was actually starting to play at a friend's house, Borderlands 3, but my friend and I already had a discussion ahead of time, and she was like, hey, this is how I play. And I'm like, actually, that's also fine with me. So there was like a half hour we were really just combing an area, like splitting up and like full clearing the area of all these like garbage white items that are getting us like $17 a piece. But it's like, no, we don't drop a thing. We fully clear everywhere. So once we're actually able to hang out again, it's still going to take us like 2 years to get through the main stuff in that game.
Yeah, I
But
can only imagine.
yeah, I don't know. I can't let I just can't let anything go like that. I have to pick everything up and go through this repeatedly.
And have to get all the. It's such a low investment.
Yeah.
such a high investment for such a low reward.
Right. I mean, that's
I
why I make
suppose
indie
that
games.
is game development, is it not? And
That's why I make RPG Maker games that
yes,
people pay a couple dollars for.
right. You make RPG
And
Maker
then
games that
send
aren't
stuff like,
Yume
why
Nikki.
do this?
Damon, is it your dream one day to make an RPG Maker game that people falsely equate to Yume Nikki?
I've had games compared. I had one of my games compared to the Moon once.
Okay.
And I've had people. I've done art for a couple of my games, like Labyrinth of Wild Abyss, actually, because I have like all these. It was my sort of take on a weird horror, where instead of like the typical jump scares and stuff that you see lately, it's more like just paranoia that I was going for.
Yeah.
And just subtle creepiness the entire time. And people did make those sorts of comparisons to Yuminiki. I'm like, well, okay. Like, I kind of don't like when people compare my games to other games.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not opposed to it. It doesn't like actually upset me or anything. But I'm like, I don't really care. Like, I'm not trying to do stuff that looks like anybody else's. When somebody says, I have not seen anything like this, and this is exactly what I was looking for, then I'm like, oh, I'm on cloud 9. Like, that's going to get me through the whole day today.
Right. I mean, arguably you trade in that you've created almost like your own sub-genre to some extent.
Yeah, I definitely, I have a niche that I cater to, where I have like 10 fans that are adamantly like into what I'm making, and I'm like, that's wild, but that's also really cool. Like, it's just the sort of thing that like 10 years ago, if I would have been like, yeah, you'll have fans, it's like, what?
Yeah. What will I be doing? I'll be making RPG Maker games that hate you.
Yeah, like it's I make games that objectively are like, why would you actually go through this? And then people still manage to go through it. I've had with my last bigger game, it's 6 random characters in a single floor dungeon. That's the whole game. A couple people tried speedrunning that game, which was just wild to me. I never would have thought of it.
I think I saw someone doing it.
Yeah, there were a couple people that were going around. It was really cool. And I'm like super grateful for that, but it's also just that sort of like, I can't believe that the weird things that I make, there's actually people that have this sort of interest in it.
Yeah.
Because really just, it matters to me to make it. And then after that, I kind of just put it out to the wild and see what happens. But when people actually like it, it's like, oh, okay, that's not what I expected.
But really, I think that's just the secret to like indie shit that I like, is that you can't like hope for people can't hope to be like super successful, and I think it's
Mhm.
better off to try and find a way to support the people who are making niche stuff, right?
Mhm.
Because it's you'll never get everyone making the big bucks, but
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely can't make like
yeah,
a Diablo like and compete with Blizzard, you
right,
know? Like that's just literally never going to happen.
yeah. But I bet
Um,
there's probably like 10 more, or even like 100, or like even like a couple thousand dedicated people who would be into the very specific styles of games that you make. But
mhm,
like the support, like the indie support group just like isn't there for that kind of thing.
mhm. Well, it's also the sort of, if there's an established genre of a game, there's going to be fans of that. But what
Yeah,
I make, there's no real established genre of,
right.
which the penalty of that is, okay, well, I don't have an immediate fan base that I can like talk to on a subreddit or whatever
Yeah,
and get them talking about it. But the good thing is that if I continue to push my games and stuff, there will be people who see the games and organically go, oh, okay, this actually looks interesting. And then they see the rest of my stuff.
yeah,
And then they're like, oh, okay, there's like stuff here. And so I have fans of my stuff who kind of don't care about too many, like, they're not, there's certainly people who play games, but
yeah,
they are people who don't have anybody else giving the service.
right.
And so if I'm the only person providing it, it's like, okay, well, at least they know like instantly if I talk about, oh, I'm going to be releasing this at some point, even though my release dates I never fucking hit.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
but I will be releasing this at some point. Then they know to watch for it. Then they know to tell other people about it. And that's the sort of marketing help that I need when
Yeah,
you've got a budget with nothing.
right.
Um,
When you're running like a negative budget.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the first 3 years I was homeless, and then I was at a friend's place for a couple of years. They got really into some stuff, and I left there, and I was
Yeah,
homeless for another year. Um, I was homeless for about 4 years while I've been making games the past 8. So I'm very used to having no budget. And the past couple of years, it's been interesting, like actually getting a little traction. Like I had a game jam that I used to run called "I Wasn't Going to Make This Anyway" jam,
right.
where it's making a fake game. You make like an instruction booklet or a strategy guide or whatever,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
don't actually make a game. I ran that for 2 years, and then this last year I was like, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm busy trying to get this other thing out.
yeah.
And then somebody in France who participated in it the previous year was like, oh, I'll run it then. And so he just started running it and he told me, and I was like, oh, okay, so somebody cares,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's huge. Um,
I think there's
and
a
then,
lot more
there was
people
the,
that care than there seem to
yeah,
be.
yeah, it's wild to me. It's the sort of thing that like it it doesn't have like a daily impact, but when I remember and I like see everything, it hits me, and I'm like, okay, so there is something that I'm doing right here. So I just need to keep going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super grateful for that.
I think it's a very slow, long process, but I think
Yeah,
it's like people are approaching it, and people, it's like it's getting there. It's getting somewhere where I think people are. It's the second the fracture from AAA to indie. There's going to be the second indie fracture to indie and indie or unmarketable indie, or just
right,
like
right.
whatever you want to
Trash
call it.
games and alt games and that sort of
Right.
thing.
That whole unknowable genre
Right.
that, yeah. Yeah, speaking of things that you were working on and too busy to work on a jam, was that the bundle you were working on? Was,
Um,
was that the
yes,
timing of
actually, at
that?
that time, that was the shorter games with worse graphics bundle.
Yes, which
Um,
did quite well.
It did okay. It did way better than I was expecting. Like the first goal that we so first, I'm gonna try and get through this quick because I know we're running short on my segment
Yes,
time.
we are. Good watching the clock
So
there.
yeah, so the thing about that was, stuff was going around about cyberpunk. I was like, okay, actually, it would be
Yeah.
good to talk to people about this because people are like, oh, there should be something about this. And I saw that there were actual cyberpunk game bundles that were going around on
Yeah.
itch, and so I was like,
Yeah,
I'll do
Nate over
something.
at
So I
Critical did that Cyberpunk
right,
bundle. That got a little
hmm
traction as well.
yeah. And so I posted, like, I got together like a jam page and said, okay, people can submit here and then we'll talk later. And so I put up a jam page. Um, Somebody that I know who helps with Indiecade kind of pushed a few people to also submit. And
Okay.
so I ended up getting like a bunch of submissions, and almost all of them were complete gold.
Yeah.
There were like two or three that I had to cut out at the end. But
Yeah. I mean, that's
25 different developers, 32 different games. We expected, I said outright, like, we should be able to get $1,000. And even a few of the developers were skeptical about that.
yeah.
Posted the link 24 hours beforehand, posted the link again, like, once it was actually live and everything. Um, it made over 1,500 the first day. And I was like, oh, okay, we've got something here.
Right. Yeah.
And by the end of it, made over $8,000. So split up between everybody, that was over $300. And we have a few developers, and very global bundle. We had people in Germany, Russia, Brazil,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
a few of the developers were, that much money is them getting paid minimum wage for a month.
Yeah.
So very impactful. Like for me, that's a month and a half of groceries. For them, it's a month of pay. So yeah, no, it was fantastic.
Yeah. There's people getting paid, and people are increasingly more willing to get paid and pay people. We're gonna stop trading around that one bitsy dollar. We're gonna start trading around $5 bitsy. And with that, I have to ask Damien, how many, what is on the front of a bitsy dollar? You think?
Oh, I wouldn't even know.
Where you put
Like,
the little president's head?
I don't know. I'm trying to blank now just because like I was after I get done with like a rant, then I'm kind of just like in that sort of mental fog where I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I just said a bunch of words there, didn't I?
Yes, and then I hit you with a random position, and you're like,
yeah, I wasn't ready.
the correct answer
I
is it
don't
would be the
know.
cat. And with
Oh
that,
yeah, absolutely.
thank you for being here. We're going to go on break, and
Mhm.
we'll be back in some amount of time. Like 2 minutes, 42 seconds, give or take. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hello, and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. We are back from our mandatory government-issued ska break, and we are here with Steven. Hey, Steven, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm still doing good. Still good. I'm actually all pumped up on horns and ska at the moment.
Nice.
So, Steven, tell me. I think I know the answer to this question. How did you hear about Indiepocalypse?
It's actually from Mike, who's currently in the chat right now. Mike Glamorous.
Supporter of
He...
Indiepocalypse.
Huh?
I was saying long time
Yeah.
supporter of Indiepocalypse.
It's supportive of everybody. Anyone
Yeah.
out there who's listening to this right now, Mike supports you. He believes in you, and I believe in him. So, we put together locally sourced a little collective of Michigan-based indie devs, and I know
Support your local
he's taking a
scene.
lot of inspiration from what you're doing with Indiepocalypse for our own stuff.
Yeah, I'm very happy when people even I'm very happy with the success of people who are mildly adjacent to me. And like, yes, I'm so glad to see people succeed. It makes me feel good. Even like clicking on my feed and seeing that games that were in Indiepocalypse like now cost $1. It's like, yes, good. You should charge money for games.
Yeah.
So but what were you doing earlier today? Were you busy earlier today with, say, an important game project or anything?
Yeah, today is actually we're currently in the middle of our GLGX, the Great Lakes Game Expo. It's an online convention we put together.
Good guess on my part.
So right now, I think it's like the last speaker of the night will be going up in half an hour to time, I think. But we have more speakers tomorrow, just talking about the art, business, and science of making games.
Now, does that have a website I can go to, or a Twitch handle, or something to that effect?
Yeah, you can find it all at glgx.dev.
Perfect. Support your local scene and other people's local scenes. Yeah, I did one recently at like the Boston Festival of Indie Games. They used, I think it's called Home, or no, Wander, or Town, or
Yeah, I know. I know. I can't. It's something like that. I can't remember.
it's like
Um,
it's like a 2D game that you walk around in and talk to.
yeah, it's like if you made your virtual convention into an RPG Maker kind of
Yeah.
thing. That was cool. I think we looked into that. There's like some cost to it though that we didn't really like.
Yes.
We're trying to work out where like it was a cost per user, and we didn't know quite how that was fronted. Like if you just pay up front or whatever, if everyone who enters has to pay or something. I don't know. So we may consider that for future things, but for this time, we just stuck with the tools we know. So just Discord and Twitch.
Yeah. So, and have you done this in the past, or is this like the first iteration of GLGX?
This is our first one.
Okay.
It was originally like an idea we're trying to get going last year as like a in-person convention around the time when COVID was still kind of like an uncertainty.
Right.
And
When people are still laughing, oh, GDC's canceled, but well, other stuff will go on, I'm sure.
yeah, and so we're trying to do something small, like I don't know, either affiliate with like a local school or whatever to have some space to go to. But then when things did shut down, we kind of scrapped that. We thought for a second about doing some sort of online thing, but we also didn't know how long things would be shut down. So it's kind of like put on hold. Like let's see if like in 3 months or whatever.
And here we are 1 year later.
Here we are. Yeah. Living the dream. But some dreams aren't good dreams. Some dreams are very bad dreams, and you don't wake up from them.
Right. A nightmare is still a dream, just a bad one.
A nightmare is still, yeah, dude, cross stitch that. Why don't you? But you won't.
I'll put that on Pinterest. All right.
But so yeah, we put together this year, and it's become pretty good, honestly. Like it's at least as far as like setting the foundation for future things. This is something that we would like to be able to do as an annual thing at least.
Yeah.
Ideally with some sort of in-person component next time, even if it's just like a small space where we can house like game demos, and then do like talks and stuff still online, because that's kind of thing is we're trying to the same thing with like locally sourced, trying to represent an entire state across 2 peninsulas. Great Lakes Game Expo is trying to represent like several more states across a much wider area, so we'll probably still have an online component to it regardless if we have it in person.
Now does that fall into like, does that cover Ohio? Are you stepping on GDEX's toes at this point?
I think we're still pretty sorry from because GDEX. The one thing with GDEX, it is more of a public facing kind of event, whereas the idea is still focused more on like the creators. It is open to anyone, but like the talks are all like creator focused, the kind of things you would see at like a GDC or an industry event. I do love GDEX, but the vibe for GDEX is I think it's different from what we're going for.
Boston has split that up into two. It used to be one event, and then they split up into 2 events, where it's like a talk event and then like a public event.
And that could be like, if we do a live thing, that could be a cool way to go about it, is like have our public available space where it is set up kind of like, just here's all the game demos and stuff you'd care about, and like some cool swag or whatever they can buy, and then the talks, which would be more for the smaller subset who actually do want to make games or learn about making games at least.
Okay. Yeah, because I think you need to do that in order to like a big thing. But within some people I know within that the Boston scene is like keeping people in the city and not just making sure everybody flees to like California.
Right. That is that's kind of like the root of like everything we're doing between locally sourced and GLGX, is to like let people know that there are other creators around here. Like you may not know about them because they don't. We don't have an E3. We don't have like we don't paint our murals on the sides of skyscrapers to advertise our new games or whatever. But like, there probably are some game devs in your backyard. Like if you're within like if you're in any distance of a college, there's some kids there who are trying to make some games.
Right.
Like it's happening. So like,
Your neighbor
and
could be a game developer. You never know.
report them to the authorities at once.
Yes.
Yeah. That I wish that game dev could be somehow kind of punk in that sense, but it's not. But that's fine too. I don't know.
Have you considered that as your poster, just a looming figure, and your neighbor could be a game dev?
I mean,
Contact
that
them
is
today. Contact your local
I,
Slack.
that has been my Steam icon since the beginning of when I created my Steam account like 10 years ago or whatever. It's like the "he's watching you" poster.
Oh,
Just
okay.
good one, but it's a classic iconography. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't even realize until fairly recently how many people there were, in Michigan who were into game dev. Like prior to joining the Game Dev MI Discord and
Yeah.
me and all the folks from all around, like I had no clue. So I'm just thinking about like how. Oh, go ahead. No.
I was gonna say, do you have an IGDA chapter?
We do technically, yeah. We're not super closely affiliated with
I was
them.
gonna say, we do technically sounds like a lot of IGDA chapters.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know how deep we want to get into here, but like IGDA, as far as like making yourself seem more official, I see some benefit there. But then like whenever they have any kind of public stance on things, it's always like the wrong stance. If they have the choice to choose between owners and workers, they side with owners every time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you guys, come on, you don't need a union. You can have a more friendly way. Don't be so combative. Let's just all work together. It's like,
Right.
no, we didn't start. The workers never start the combativeness.
Yeah.
They, like we can't be the ones who like create the conflict. If everything was going fine, it'd be going fine. But like it's not on us to decide.
I never quite understand what the IGDA. Sometimes the IGDA just seems like one person in the state is like, I guess I'm the IGDA here. How you doing? I don't know. It seems loose. Yeah. I'm an indie who has no affiliation with anything and no employees, so I don't give a shit about the IGDA.
Yeah. So we do technically have one, and we did have like meetups. We do have an interview series that we do regularly, run by Mars Ashton from.
Yes, I know Mars Ashton lightly as a former contributor.
He's a good dude. He's a good guy. He's basically the one who got me into the scene way back when he gave me a ride up to Grand Rapids to go see a panel featuring the Finji Co folks and some other game devs. And that was like the first time I met him. And yeah, he's a good guy. Everyone go make friends with Mars.
I should have him on the show.
Oh yeah, he'd be a great guest.
Yeah, he's a contributor.
Not as good as me. But like he's
still. Are you sure? Because I will hold you to that. I will.
He's at least like A tier, I would suppose.
Okay. Well, now I have to slowly judge you through this entire time, and I have to create a rubric.
I mean, I've been judging all y'all, so I guess it's only fair,
Fuck. Speaking of judging and judging things, what in your judgment is the game in development you're most looking forward to?
Bayonetta 3.
Okay.
Because I love Bayonetta. That's like that. My dream game to make would be an over the top, crazy big budget 3D character action game like that. And they've revealed so far basically nothing of the game except that it's going to exist. So like it's still so mysterious and like I don't know. It could be anything.
I would consider that to be in development then. If you know
it is in development. They did say they were like Bayonetta 3 is going to happen. And here's the logo. It's Bayonetta, the number 3 next to it. It's like, all right, that's all I needed. Speaking
of game development and larger studios, I have a question from a previous episode's guest, and that is, what's your hottest take about AAA video games?
My hottest, man. I'll never be a true game design guru, rock star, ninja, because I don't really do like hot take. I don't have any like. Actually, any game that uses more than 2 buttons is too complicated, or stuff like that. But like, I don't much care for The Witcher 3. I did not like that game.
Oh, that sounds like a hot take. I mean, I think CD Projekt has lost some cachet in recent months.
Yeah,
I would say that's still a hot take. I'll allow it.
All right. Well, it's just because. So, I like the characters and the world. Those are cool. but the game is at its core, it's about combat. It's about fighting things. Every system in that game loops back into the combat.
Yeah.
Like you gain upgrades for combat. You have all these spells mostly used for combat, but then the combat it doesn't feel very interesting. Like I would dread the times when I had to fight things. I would love conversations. I would love riding my horse across the countryside. I would hate the moment I have to and I attribute it largely to how abstracted out the input is, which I enjoy in games like Spider-Man's or your Batman's, but seeing The Witcher flip around to do all these things just because I press 2 buttons, it doesn't. I want a greater level of control. I would love it if The Witcher had a combat system that was more like a Bayonetta or a Devil May Cry, where every button press has a specific purpose, and I have to think about which ones I'm going to do. And it's not just I press dodge at the right time. I press the control stick towards that guy. I press attack. The dude leaps across the distance to attack him. And I think the reason why it works in Batman's and Spider-Man's is because you have the mobility. If you took Spider-Man and Batman and you removed all the mobility tools and it was just beating people up, those games would be terrible. But the fact that you can swing across a web, then you can run off a wall, then you can grab a guy to you and kick him across there, and that's what makes it good. Whereas with The Witcher, you don't get those things. You get a few combat tricks, but largely it's just a matter of observing and reacting. And it's a cliche, but it never made me feel like The Witcher. I feel like a guy who's telling The Witcher what to do, and then he does it.
Did The Witcher 3 still have sex cards in it?
Probably. I honestly didn't play enough to get to that if they did. I played maybe no. Oh yeah, the one thing that actually broke it from it, because I like card games, card game, anything card based, I'll play it. So I spent a lot of time with the Gwent game.
I played a little bit of Gwent, and I was like, not for me.
I really liked it. It had such a different pacing from a lot of other card games. It was very I don't know, just the fact that the 3-round structure with a limited hand mechanic, you had to really pace yourself and actually try to it had almost like a poker type feel to it, where it's when you can push your luck in a certain area or when you should be more conservative with your play. But there's one part where there's a little party, a little instanced story scenario, and there's one dude where you can beat him to get some Gwent cards.
Yeah.
But if you leave the party, once you're done the mission, you can't go find that dude again. He's just gone. So you could just not have those cards. And I was so bummed because my deck wasn't good enough to beat him. So I was like, if I was a perfectionist collector type, I just can't do it. And then I was like, you know what? I was already looking for an excuse to stop playing this game, and that can be it, I guess.
And then they just made that standalone version of it,
which is actually pretty good. It was pretty fun. I don't think I'm gonna play the beta. I never dropped any cash on it.
Yeah.
But still a good game.
I've bounced around different card games for a while until they released Magic the Gathering, and then I've settled in my cozy little home, and I will never leave.
Yeah.
But
I always have to segue it into card game, and everything I do, it's gonna eventually come back to a card game talk a little bit. Dude, they have so much cool stuff at BlizzCon for Hearthstone now, and I'm so excited for it all. And man, it's I don't know, it's just weird that this game that's been around now for over 6 years can still have things where I'm I'm so hyped for this. This is man.
Do they have instant speed cards yet?
No, and honestly, that's my I like Magic the Arena, but that is one thing that I've had games where I just quit because I don't want to go through all the triggers. I've had games where it's whenever a creature enters the battlefield, do X, and then hey, return all of your creatures from the graveyard to the battle. It's no, I'm not gonna wait to see 12 reactions that cause other. No, and I'm done. I don't know what
I'm a real fucking trigger junkie. I love being able to. I love that full pause button is what I want from a card game. You never know when I'm gonna do something. Of the mind games of it. And I played Hearthstone for a while, and then
and I think that's great for paper. Paper, when you can just hold up a hand, wait, stop. That's good because you have that. If we had an actual a totally immersive VR experience where I'm sitting across the table from you, and you can read every body reaction, so I don't need to press okay, go ahead after you do everything.
Yeah.
And you can just judge by my posture, oh, he didn't try to stop me, so I guess I'm gonna continue. That would be ideal. But until we have that, I just can't handle games that involve that much breaking into other people's interactions like that.
Yeah, I mean, they literally banned a card only on digital because it was taking too long. It took up too
Well,
much time.
on the dev side of things for Magic the Arena, like it's amazing now that since they've committed to like every game added to the card game now will also be represented digitally. Like I'm just thinking about what that would feel like as a developer to have that like blank check now written for you, where like this other group of game designers now get to decide like what we have to implement in our engine.
Yeah.
Like that'd be so rough, because for a while in some of the older versions, I remember when they called it like duels or whatever. They had all the cards except for the one Eldrazi where you could take your opponent's turn, because like they just didn't have that in the engine. They didn't want to implement that in the engine. So okay, fine. We just won't have the ability to take someone's turn. But now if they do that again, it has to be in the digital game. They have to implement it. Like
that's why I love Magic, because it's a broken mess and everything interacts it's like messed up ways, and I like it as like it doesn't feel clean. And that's kind of what I like about it.
I mean, I think that's the amazing thing about like any legacy game now that has to go on for so long. You see similar things in like any long running MOBA, or even in like battle royales now, where they have to have like they have to redesign the entire game like every 3 months or so, and it just like it's weird to think about that, like the games that you enjoy now just stop existing eventually, but there's still a game with the same name. There's still a game that'll be called League of Legends 5 years from now. There's still a game called Fortnite. But like you'll look at them and like this isn't Fortnite or League of Legends. This isn't the game.
Yeah, there was a time when characters had like passive skills and
Right. It's like wait, when did they add like an underground layer to the league map? Like why is there'll be some crazy thing like that? Like wait, there's like teleporters? What, like I don't know, just and anything could happen on a longer timeline.
And like code changes, and then it's like, wait a minute, well now we can do way more stuff that we couldn't do before, and now we're gonna do all this cool stuff. And then our old characters, I can shoot something in a straight line, and then I can shoot a second thing in a straight line, but a shorter straight line.
Like that's why I think now that's probably like the biggest disconnect in like game structures between like indie titles and AAA titles. Is like an indie title, you're like usually just like you're aiming to get something done and like get it out there, and then maybe people can like buy it. But like you don't design things with in mind and like okay, and then like a year from now I'll be doing season 2 of this game, and like this is all like no, it's like a year from now I'll be trying to figure out what to do next. Like that's just it.
You're not designing a game to be someone's only game they ever play.
And I think that's the thing a lot of bigger developers learn, is that like even with the size you're at, you still can't do that. We've seen like Anthem, we've seen a lot of things where it's like people already, if people want to play Destiny, they already got it. Like it's already there.
Right.
Like there's nothing you can do quality wise that'll be able to supplant it, because it's already what they play. It's not even a matter of like quality, it's a matter of like they have the community, they have the friends who are in it. Like you can't make a League killer, because League is what it is.
Right.
And you just have to accept that.
Yeah, it's like, well, I can just already play. Like, why would I kill League when I just keep playing League? I don't.
Or if I'm tired, just take a break and I'll come back 3 months from now and it'll be different. So like maybe it'll be better. I don't know. Like that's.
Yeah, I mean, I guess yours has Jim Raynor in it, but how much?
Dude, Heroes of the Storm was pretty cool. I did like that game.
It was I'll admit I did play it, and it's like it was kind of neat. That was like it was a real brawly like kind of game.
I liked the extent they went to like doing weird gimmick characters that you wouldn't see in other games. Like, shoot, the one Zerg guy who like just makes creeps and like buffs up people and stuff.
That's
like that was like
what I was thinking. Yes,
that's a character that like I don't think they're ever gonna do in League. But I mean, maybe once again a long timeline. Once they're hitting like 200 characters or whatever, maybe anything's possible. But
they'll have to do something. They'll run out of people. They'll eventually have an evoker or something. Yeah.
Damien was Abathur's was Damien's favorite, so that's cool. I don't know I can't even remember who I really played a lot of. I don't think I played enough to really have a main. Like I kind of like, I don't know. I'm not good at like sticking with the game. I don't think I'm good at any games that I haven't made myself.
Oh, okay. So speaking of games you've made yourself, as we're what games have you made yourself, Steven?
So I was like a bunch of Game Jam stuff, but under the Flyover Games label. My first game was Knife That Guy.
Okay.
You can't find it anymore because I didn't keep it up to date on the mobile stores because I'm not gonna pay
Yes.
$100 a year to keep a
Mobile.
game that makes no money. But oh yeah, no, I do have an itch though. I did remake it for one of our locally sourced bundles.
Okay, I was gonna say, and if it's Android, you can just slap an APK on there.
I could. I might go back and do that at some point. But it was a little, I call it a knife 'em up. You just have like a specific target and you're just moving around this dance floor. You have to like take down your target without hitting anyone else. It was honestly, it's still, I think, one of my favorite things I've done.
Yeah.
After that, Pill Popper. Huh?
How good were you at it?
I was pretty good. There was a dude who was better. There was a guy who would post up like every day with like his new high score. I think by the end of it, he was like quadrupling my high score, which like at the maximum like speed level is ludicrous. It's like largely luck because you're just going so fast and moving around this floor and you have very limited mobility to like turn.
Yeah.
But so that was pretty impressive. After that, it was a Pill Popper, which is my first arcade puzzle game type thing. You have little pills. You drop them on dudes to try to even out their moods. It was like a weird dystopian setting where you're trying to make everyone a neutral mood. Okay. So if they're happy, you give them sad pills. If they're sad, you give them happy pills. And it affects the characters around them, so it can like set off a chain reaction. If they get too happy, they explode. That type of thing. So that like set the groundwork for my current game, which is Wave Crash.
Yes,
it's
the name of that one.
Multiplayer a puzzle game. Made it because I am bad at fighting games, but I really love their like visual language and the characters and everything. And I'm pretty good at puzzle games, so I want to make something that would sort of incorporate my actual skills with the things that I like to see in video games.
Oh, perfect. And Steven, as we head out, what fighting game are you the worst at, would you say?
Oh, dude. Okay. The only one I was actually good at was Virtua Fighter. I was decent at that.
That sounds like the opposite of the question I just asked you, Steven.
I'm setting up. Hey! I'm setting up a context for the answer.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry for interrupting your narrative.
So the actual, it'd have to be a very combo heavy. So probably, well, I mean, they're very similar games. So I would suppose like Marvel vs. Capcom series or Skullgirls, like that type of like tag team fighter with like long combo strings and So yeah, I'd be that. Although Skullgirls is also one of my favorites as far as like animations and aesthetic. Like I think the way they committed so hard to being like all the characters are weird. Like even the default normal characters are still bizarre, and I love that about that game.
Yeah, that's fighting games are a work of art, and they're beautiful, and they should be appreciated every day. But enough appreciating fighting games. My favorite animation is in Melty Blood. You all should check out Melty Blood. And there's that one girl who's a vampire, I think, and she walks backwards and she points at you while she does it, and it's an amazing animation. She's like, "I'm walking backwards, but I'm coming back for you in a moment."
Just so you know, I still remember we're fighting. All right.
Yeah, it's exceptional. It's an exceptional piece of character work. I love it, and I'm going on break now. Goodbye. I'll be back soon. We'll all be back soon. No, we won't all be back soon. We'll be back with one of the guests.
One of us will be murdered.
Oh, shit, no.
Mystery.
Enjoy this thing that surprisingly slaps. See ya. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. We are here with, I'm down here at the bottom now. That's how you know that I schedule a lot of people on the show. We got a full house. You can still go and pay for your stuff though. Like, hey, if you got Twitch Prime, you're not using it for anything else, hey, just sling it my way. I don't know what I'll do with that money, but I'm doing something with it, I'm sure. That was like, so I remembered at one point there was a song or an album called Born to Add. It had like crept into my brain, and I was like, what is that? I'm doing this tribute to the boss where I litigate the boss in my brain and think if he is cool or not. And I'm like, wow, that song is good. It's like a neat pastiche that is like Born to Run, but it's also like Jungle Land. Like it very distinctly uses the Jungle Land pianos. And we're here with our final guest, Ava. Ava, if you were counting loudly in the streets and the cops told you to knock it off, what would you do?
Probably get as far away from the cops as possible.
Oh, such a good plan.
Yes.
Very practical. Very practical. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. You may remember Ava from issue 11 of Indiepocalypse with gender dysphoria and a previous episode of Indiepocalypse Radio that I don't remember the number of. Because
There's a lot of them.
14 of them, if you count this one.
Yeah.
Shit, I've been doing it for... It's one of those things where it's like you turn around and think, oh, I've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Yeah. But anyway, that's... Actually, I didn't have 4... So, do you remember... I will ask you instead, because there were not 4 previous guests on the last show. So I will instead ask you rapid fire all the previous guest questions. Are you ready?
Oh, okay. I hope so.
If you could snap your fingers and have something immediately implemented in your game, what would it be?
Well, given the whole power outage stuff that happened in Texas recently, there's this game I really want to make, and it would be really fun to just snap my fingers and have an already working sort of like implemented simulated system of a power grid that I can play with and
Okay.
implement game mechanics into. I think that would be a lot of fun.
All right. What is the most noteworthy thing you've made on accident?
The most noteworthy thing I made on accident. That's a really hard question because I don't think I usually keep track of those things.
You
But I
catalog
guess,
all your mistakes and accidents in your brain forever?
I mean, I try to forget about them instead, you know? I mean, the closest thing, I guess, are like things that I got into on accident.
Yeah.
Like a really long time ago, I was trying to make like narrative games for Unity, and there weren't really any good scripting languages back then to use with Unity. So I stumbled into the great fun world of creating my own compiler and that sort of thing.
That sounds exciting.
And it's involved into, yeah, it's very exciting. And actually, I just released a new version of that scripting language that I've been developing for years. And it's on GitHub, and it's got a much nicer syntax now. And I recently updated some of my games to use the new version of the scripting language. I'm really proud of it.
Perfect. When I started doing game development, Unity's 2D was bad, so I was like, well, I guess I will just use GameMaker instead. I'm not a programmer, so I have to run.
Yeah, there are
something
definitely
else.
some. Yeah, there are some better choices now when it comes to like doing branching narratives in Unity, but like I'm of course biased, but
Yeah.
I still think my version is the best version.
Hey, well,
Except for maybe Yarn Spinner. Yarn Spinner comes pretty close, I think.
it's helpful to know your own language. And speaking of knowing your own language, here's an unrelated question: what's your hottest AAA take?
My hottest AAA take?
Hottest take on AAA video games, rather.
Oh, they're all boring.
Oh shit, that is not very.
That's not a hot take, is
No.
it? That's
No, I
that's
don't
a
think
pretty
so.
common take.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, it's
Wait,
like
hold on.
Let's get more specific about it. Well, what's an especially boring one? You think?
Well, okay. I guess like every single time a shooter comes out, they always have the same layout where it's like a stoic guy in the distance, like you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
where they just like take a photo of the guy standing like among like some ephemera or something, or like
And he's sad
like
about
dust.
something, or not sad?
Yeah, maybe
because,
being sad about something.
because men can't be
They,
sad.
they usually look stoic. They usually
Yeah.
just look stoic, like they're like there for business or something.
And the business is shooting all these guns and upgrading.
And
the-
like
the gun
I know
upgrades.
those games sell, but you do realize you're buying the same game, right? Like it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The last time I am usually like, I am very trend diverse because I have been burned enough times by things people really like that I was not personally interested in myself, and that one of the last games of that was that Lord of the Rings game. I was
I see.
This is like if you made Assassin's Creed but bad, or I already played Assassin's Creed, and this is just that.
I think most recently for me, like as far as trends go, was when Cyberpunk like got all popular for some reason. And every time I looked at the game and like learned like what the game was about and like what you do in that game, I just couldn't get excited about it because it just sounded like really bland.
Right.
Like it had no seasonings or something.
Yeah,
That's just if we like made a parallel to food anyway, that's just how it felt.
Right. And I think a lot about comparing it to food. And you know what? I eat a potato chip sometimes, but that's what they're meant to be, like simple and easily consumable.
Yeah, I feel like AAA games are like if you had dishes that only had meat in them and they were luxurious, but it's always meat every single time.
Right.
And there's nothing else. There's no greens to liven things up. It's just meat all the time.
Sometimes they have
like
pepper on them.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta eat something else, man. Like, you gotta have a balanced diet, right?
You can get ketchup for DLC if you want. But only ketchup. No catsup. Nothing else. So that was all those questions. You answered them perfectly.
I think mustard is better than ketchup.
I do too. I mean, I've actually gone over to chili sauce for a little while for dipping like French fries and things.
I see.
Need something to dip, but also like I shouldn't use like aioli because it's got a lot of calories and stuff in it. You know.
My roommate has been telling me that like they always want to get salsa because you can make almost anything appetizing with salsa.
I just ate a full jar of salsa this morning.
Oh my goodness.
Mostly. I had like a little bit of it last night. And today I had... Well, I put chips on them. I put it on chips. I didn't just chug... I almost drank salsa because it was next to the open salsa container. It was next to my water container. And I grabbed it like... I almost made a big mistake. Because I also like very spicy salsa.
I see.
So, anyway, what game...
So...
Yes. In development, AAA or indie, are you most looking forward to? Because Sean would like to know.
Sean,
Yeah.
the game I'm looking most forward to is probably Raccoons, made by a person called Punches Bears.
Okay.
I think the best way you can describe Raccoons is, well, it's like if you had that Goose Game, but it's just like you play as a raccoon and you wreck everything in sight, and it just looks hilarious because you have noodles for arms.
Okay. I am a fan of raccoons personally. They're like, I love, it's lukewarm take. I love their little bandit mask. I love their weird little hands. They got fingers and stuff. Big fan of all of that. Oh, are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, raccoons. Okay.
Yeah, like wreck, and then I don't. It's so hard to explain, but like it uses procedural geometry, and the way the raccoons move around is really, really funny.
Okay, actually, I believe I have seen a bit of this before.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited for that game because like I played the Goose Game, Untitled Goose Game a little bit, and like it's good, but I don't feel like it really goes all the way. And from the footage that I've seen from Raccoons, it's like this is like what I'm looking for, just like absolute chaos. I want to be an agent of chaos, and that's what I want out of this game. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Sorry, I was on their Twitter page, and like on, you know how you have the images off to the side? They had a picture of Moon Cop by Tom Gall. I'm like, what? Why are they linking Moon Cop?
I don't know what Moon Cop is.
It's a comic by Tom Gall, as they say, it's about a depressed cop on the moon.
Oh, I see.
Tom Gall, he's a cartoonist. Anyway, let's not get distracted with cartooning. Let's get that final question out of the way so we can exit the rapid fire. Oh no, I lost my window. Don't make too many windows.
Your window.
Kids, here it is from Morgana. About writing processes and narratives in games and balancing explicit storytelling with storytelling via game mechanics. How do you do it?
Yeah.
What's your process?
This is a really interesting question to me because balance, I don't think I really balance anything. What I do instead is I try to find ways to make the mechanics and the narrative complement each other.
Yeah.
So in gender dysphoria, there's this one thing I do where I want the person who's playing to feel very dissociative or detached from what's going on.
Yeah.
Like to feel that everything that is happening is broken in some way.
Yeah, and it is like very disjointed. Like you.
Yeah, disjointed was the word I was looking for. I had a really hard time. And like some of the ways I do that in the narrative, right? Like I put you through situations that I've been through, like for example, going to changing rooms and then being denied access because I'm at the wrong one, quote unquote, right? But I also do that through the mechanics. And something you might not notice if you play the game only once is that all of the scenes in the game are randomly ordered, except for I think 2 of the scenes are stuck in place. Like the very first scene and the very last scene you see in the game are fixed, but everything else is jumbled up. And like the way that mechanically works helps reinforce the disjointed feeling of the game. And I think that's what I try to look for, is ways to sort of put those 2 things together and have them emphasize more than what they could do separately.
Right. It was very much in playing the game. It felt like a flurry of these like interactions that are where like they're all interconnected, but they're all disconnected. It's like this is just like wandering through this kind of living, like wandering through your life, and this is what you're being the character, and also I guess you are being semi-autobio you're, but like this feeling of wandering through, and like there is a narrative, a through line narrative, but the individual pieces of it, like the order doesn't matter because it's all like this barrage of like similar interactions, but like always placed like in contextually different ways, and the way
they're all in different situations. And one of the things I tried to do, I don't think it came across very well in the game, but one of the things I tried to do was make it so that the scenes influence each other in like really strange ways, because memory recall isn't, humans are very bad at memory recall.
Right.
So there are a lot of places in the game where like you can make a choice, and that choice affects what kind of dialogue you see later on in the game. Even if like you reordered all of the scenes so they're in chronological order, like you might play the last scene for one of the arcs and then go to an earlier scene, but the choice that you made in the later scene still affects the earlier scene, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like time warping, like choice manipulation stuff that happens in the game. But I don't think I did enough of it, and I want to do it more in another game sometime, I think.
Well, perfect. I mean, there are always more games, presumably.
Yeah.
I hear
there's so many things I want to do.
I hear there are so many games. There's like an apocalyptic amount of games out there.
What is an apocalyptic amount of games?
Kind of like there's so many games that I, as an independent developer, am looking out into this wasteland and going, I can't make any money compared to these people who made money. Oh wait, let's ignore the fact that they got boosted up by like large companies to get there.
I see. Well, there are also other industries that are in that kind of state of disrepair.
Right.
So. But we keep making them because we need an outlet to express ourselves.
Right.
And share information. So.
Yeah, I've heard dire things about poetry.
Oh, have you?
Yes. Now trying to get coverage for any or payment or like. I think it was very much the sentence. You think you got it bad. I write poems, and like
that sounds really tough.
And I thought for a minute, you know what? I don't know where I would get poetry. Besides like
me neither.
Journals, maybe.
It usually pops up in my life at least, when like there's an important speech going on and they have a poet come like say things.
But is that like the same 5 poets that everyone uses, you know?
I don't know. The poetry doesn't pop up in my life a whole lot, actually.
I think that's the real problem. That pouring out for poets out there.
Oh, and on another topic, I had some news that I wanted to tell you. I don't think I've told you yet.
No, I don't think you have.
But I found out recently that gender dysphoria is actually on the course webpage for a class at UC Irving.
No, I did not know that. That is very cool.
It's very exciting. I emailed the professor because I was so excited, and I was like, "Oh, it's so cool that it's like on your course webpage." And like, how do you find my game? And like, what do you like? Why is it on your course webpage? What are you using it for? That sort of thing. And they were really delighted to receive my email. So that was nice.
Yeah.
But apparently they played the game and they empathize with it a lot since they're also trans, and they have some trans students in their class, and they wanted to have something on their webpage for the students to go check out.
Yeah. And yeah.
So it's not like part of their curriculum, but it's like there as like an extra thing that students can do. Yeah. It's just really exciting. I'm sitting here like, oh man, my stuff is like approved for collegiate material.
Right. Somebody was like, yes, okay, yeah. This is
a professor at some college was just like, yeah, that's good. Let's put it on there.
Right. Yeah. This has like scholastic merit to it. This could.
Yeah.
I think there is something very important to the interactive experience with like creating empathy or like helping to convey an experience other than one's own. And I'm not sure but also I think you do need people to like be willing to understand it, I think it's really
empathy is something that some people have to learn, and sometimes it's not the easiest thing.
Right. Because I think it's also at the same time very easy for someone to play something like gender dysphoria and be like, oh, I don't care, and just click all the buttons.
Yeah, like that one person who was on my itch page and was just like, boring.
That's such a what did he
I couldn't say anything. I was just like, oh yeah, you're right, like it's my life. It's boring for me. It happens all the time.
Yeah,
I can't argue with you.
It's always a very bizarre reaction to heartfelt, like personal work. It's like, kind of boring. I don't know about this.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't really the point, but sure.
Have you considered adding more microtransactions to it?
Oh God, I don't remember who I was talking about this with, but that reminds me of an idea where we were thinking about a way to just like make a game that was almost entirely microtransactions and watching ads. Yeah. Like the game mechanic was watch an ad, and that was like the entire game mechanic. Just like ad mansion or something. I think it happened in the itch Discord server at some point.
I once wanted to make. Maybe I still will. I want to make a tabletop game that has microtransactions in it, and like bring it to shows. So like I'll have a cup.
Oh God.
I will have like a cup and like a QR code, and people could pay me, and I could give them more money or better tokens.
Oh God, it just like you could do that like at a lower level, like just with any board game.
Yeah.
And just instead of having a swear jar, just have a microtransaction jar.
Right. And it's
just like keep putting in money to get like every time you screw up and you want to change something retroactively, here's $2. I'm gonna go fix this thing.
You want a bonus die in Monopoly? Here, just give me $5 and you can have a golden bonus die. Oh, you all by default you all get these little cubes, but if you want to use the wheelbarrow, you got to pay me extra.
Are we terrible people for talking about this?
No, because it's performance art.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that makes it 100% okay, no questions, huh?
Ah, yes. You see, if you do something under the guise of performance art, everything works. Also, people will fucking blow their money on way worse stuff. And the money that I do not spend on food, I pretty much 100% invest back into art. So myself personally, I don't feel bad about
I see.
I'm either buying, if I'm not paying for Indiepocalypse, I'm buying just like music or comics or movies or just art. I don't have any other pleasures in life.
Yeah, it's really cool though. Like, I know a lot of people who would not be willing to pay money for those kinds of things.
I just
Always looking for free stuff,
Yeah, I just dropped too much money to get, because all the music I play on Indiepocalypse Radio I pay for, where is easily possible. I say I don't have to buy like a $90 secondhand copy of a Suicide album. I may just find other ways.
Yeah, no one wants to ever do that.
Yeah, but hey, if they were offering it easily and I could just get it, I would. I even bought the single of that Sesame
It needs to be
Street song.
accessible.
Yeah. I even bought the single of that Sesame Street song off of Amazon because it was the only place I could find it. I didn't need that whole album, honestly. But that one song I didn't want. It makes me feel less bad about it. Playing people's music without royalties or something. But I only play.
Yeah.
But anyway. Enough of me talking about art. And it makes me buy vinyl because people press stuff on vinyl now. And people do a lot of stuff on cassettes now too. And that's neat, but I don't have a cassette player.
Cassettes are so old school.
Yeah.
Cassettes are important though, actually, because like people in prisons, for example.
Oh yeah.
Cassettes are like the only thing that they're allowed to bring into the prison, because you can't like manufacture anything dangerous with a cassette.
Right.
Whereas like with a CD, for example, you can totally make a shiv out of that.
Yes, without trying very hard.
Yeah, so I was reading some news articles recently, a couple of months ago, about like how it was getting harder and harder for people in prisons to access like music, for example, because people weren't printing cassettes anymore. There's like, I think last time I checked, there was like one place in the U.S. that still made cassettes.
Well, I guess if you're expected to go to prison anytime soon, get into independent music. They print on cassette still.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. Like sometimes we don't think about the implications of the kinds of technology that we use, and when they go away, what that means for other people.
Right. Especially like things we don't think about. Like I'm sure there's people out there who still use VHS somewhere. I don't know who. They're still all available at the thrift stores. And I look at them and go, I guess somebody's still buying these, or at least somebody's turning them in. And what would you do with it? Send them all to Victorville, they say. But cassettes aside, people are posting music in the chat, and I want to look at it because I like music.
You can't help yourself.
Yeah, that's fuck. The chat found the secret way to engage with me, which is talk about music. It's my secret weakness. Anyway, I'm back to focused. Focus on the task at hand. Staying locked in. Speaking of VHSs, did you have VHSs? Was that? Oh no, am I dating myself?
Are you asking if like
you grew up and watched things on VHS?
If I grew up without VHSs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had VHSs when I was growing up. It was mostly Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah. Mostly just like the TV shows of Pokemon and some of the movies on VHS. And I know that a lot of people had experience recording things on VHS, like watching TV and recording it to VHS.
Yeah.
To watch later, but that was not part of my childhood. My parents never bought like blank VHS tapes to do that. No, so I only ever had like already recorded VHSs that we would buy, like the Pokemon VHSs and stuff.
Perfect. I begin to worry every now and then, like, oh, wait a minute, am I becoming too old?
You realize every second that's happening to you.
I am becoming too
getting
old.
Older.
but I am the cool editor who brings in all the cool kids making games, and I have to stay cool with them and young in spirit.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just
Yeah.
think about people who were born in 2005. They're like 16 now.
They are, yeah. They don't even know what Pokemon 2000 is. I don't even know what Pokemon 2000 is. Mostly because that was past my Pokemon age. I think I saw the first movie, and I got a Mew Pokemon card. I thought about selling my Pokemon cards recently, but it seemed like too much hassle for not enough money.
I think my favorite episode of Pokemon that I ever watched on VHS is the one where they have to deal with a Snorlax that's just in the way.
Okay.
Like they're like trying to go somewhere, and there's this giant fat Snorlax just like in the way, and they have to figure out how to get Snorlax to move. I think that's my favorite episode. Like that's the one I remember most distinctly out of all the ones I watched. We have like, I don't know, 15 of them.
Yeah, I don't remember. Was that?
I just remember the Snorlax eating like a thorny plant of some sort.
Okay.
And it was, yeah, I don't really remember a whole lot. It's just the one I remember the most.
Yeah. Now is that like post? Because don't they make like a new Pokemon series when they make new games for new regions? Is that something that
I never really caught up with. I never really like stayed up to date with Pokemon after the original like 151.
Okay, so that was still the original season in that case. Then all right.
Yeah, it was like one of the original episodes from like season 1 or something.
Yeah, I have no context for stuff that I watched as a kid because I feel like episodic or like contextualizing television.
You just sort of like watch whatever was on, you know?
Right,
like,
right. And
yeah.
I had no concept,
I get you.
No concept of like shows having an order.
Yeah, I used to like watch Saturday morning cartoons all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And like I remember at some point while I was a kid, I started to think that the Saturday morning cartoons weren't good anymore. Oh man.
And you put away childish
but like
things.
I don't know, like I just like I stopped watching them. I don't know like when that happened exactly, but I just stopped watching them entirely. And then I just like didn't really enjoy, well, except for like cyberspace or whatever it was, these math cyber thing that was on PBS. What is it called?
I have no idea. You're in the weeds.
It's like a PBS kids show.
Okay.
I think it's still going on. Oh, it's called Cyber Chase.
Okay.
And I think it's still going. And I have to say that like that is the one show that I continue to like when I started to feel like all of the shows were like bad.
So to reverse the question I was going to ask as we go to break, Ava, instead of the last show, which was Cyber Chase, what was the first show that you were like, do you remember being like, I'm just not into this anymore? This is for children. Or this is bad.
Oh, that's really interesting. I don't know. It's either the superhero one about like a black kid who has electrical powers.
Oh, Static Shock.
Static Shock, yeah. Or it was the Jackie Chan animated one.
Okay.
It's either one of the. I don't know which one was first. But one of those I eventually got really bored of. Like there wasn't really anything going on, and I just couldn't watch it anymore.
Oh, perfect. And speaking of not watching anymore, we are not watching this segment anymore because we are at the end. It was great to have you back. We will be back with everybody in but a moment. But yeah, great to have you back. I like having these conversations. I like hanging out with people.
Yeah, me too. It's great.
Goodbye. Yeah. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio, where I've invited everyone over to the couch, late night style, because you've all made it. Congratulations, you are the comedians who I'm the Johnny in this situation, I suppose. I think
The couch is comfy.
That's pretty. That's a pretty high view of yourself. I feel like there.
What, that I'm some unfunny old man who I'm gonna put on a hat and pretend to read an envelope.
I mean, you say that, but try it. So next show, try doing that. Try to get the same kind of uproarious laughter he would get. You know.
Hey, listen, I was a child
Ev-
watching. I saw those Johnny Carson infomercials, and I'm like, this guy is not funny.
Everything's easy in the abstract, you know. You
Yeah.
see someone playing golf and like, well, all I did is hit a little, but look how tiny the ball is. Like, yeah, you hit it far. How would you not? Come on.
Let's see. I'm not gonna do it. I don't have the patience for it. I'm not that kind of talk show host until events open back up and I try and figure out a way to bring desks to conventions and host talk shows there with couches and have people hang out. I want conventions to be back just so I can create live versions of this radio show now.
Yeah, just have like a panel at some convention. That sounds great.
Yeah, and the alternative I thought is like, what if I like created like a fake wood grain desk, but like printed it on a tablecloth and just draped that over the tables and called it a day.
Just do like podcast, but outside, and just set up a table wherever you want to. Just
and just talk.
our table set up at the bottom of the escalator getting into the convention floor, but that's the best lighting, all right?
Yeah. I don't know. I want to be out there. I want to be in the world. I want to be live. It's getting close. I'm like, I could almost. We're getting closer.
I want to go back to hugging every person I see.
2022. Looking forward to it.
We'll see.
I've already just the number 2022. Like, I don't like how many twos there are. I feel like if I have to say 2022 for an entire year, I'm gonna lose my mind. I think we need to just like give it a shorthand name.
The 22s. What if we just called the Deuce?
I would be fine with that, dude. Yeah. Yeah. If you say like, yeah, the date is it's July 17th, the Deuce. All right.
Yeah. Official stamp here. I'm giving it. No one else try name years. 2022 is the Big Deuce.
Oh man, I can't wait for New Year's Eve. So that way, New Year's Day of 2023, we can officially drop the deuce.
Exactly.
Yep.
Oh, here I can't. We're all gonna go to Times Square. We're gonna look at the big deuce on the big pole. We're gonna wait for it to drop, and we're all gonna be happy
always
about it.
seemed miserable to me. The idea of like waiting out in like below freezing temperatures, surrounded by people like shoulder to shoulder. Like I've never gotten the feel of that.
Sometimes like misery loves company, you know?
Yeah.
Like people love shared misery for some reason.
I've definitely put myself in some miserable situations to be with other people. I think it makes sense.
With certain people, but like a bunch of would be like, yo, let's go touch a bunch of strangers. Like,
well, sure. I feel like in retrospect, certainly, my perception of anybody being close to anybody has been irrecoverably destroyed.
Yeah. Like I can't even imagine the whole Times Square thing anymore. It just like if I see a scene like that, it just like induces panic inside of me. Like, wait, hold on, there can't be that many people all like that close together.
Absolutely,
That's disgusting.
I
Someone's gonna catch something.
I was playing Yakuza a little while ago and kept having that reaction anytime anyone got in anyone else's face. It was just like, no, please. I know you're tough, but not this.
And that's in a country with mass culture.
Yeah, right.
They should have all just been. Listen,
I think as soon as he gets the vaccine, I'm high-fiving everybody. Everyone gets a high five.
No, I am on record as a frigid New Englander, so I was already not touching people, and I would keep business as usual. Yeah, no. When people were like, I think I've mentioned this anecdote of like being at a convention and giving a polite farewell to other New Englanders, and then Canadians who I had just met like hugging, and it's like, oh, I guess this is my screwed up region I live in that hates everyone. and each other and themselves.
I love hugs. I love like When you're going for a hug and then it's like hug chicken. Like, who's gonna let go of this hug first? All right, I'll take this to the limit, dude. I will climb up on you like a koala. I guess we just like live as one unit from now on. Okay, I won't back down from that hug.
I will let go
If it's
first.
if it's someone I'm wanting to hug, I will never be the first one to stop first. We'll have that whole conversation mid hug. It's fine.
I am a man of my personal space, and I respect it, and I need it. But that's just me, and I know that. But also, I both ways. What am I talking about? I'm plenty both ways. I think it's more like it's a very person to person basis. But
Of course.
so, did anyone have any questions as they were going through this for any of the other guests? They're like, "Oh, I had a burning question, but I didn't want to interrupt to ask it."
If you had to choose to fight yourself from either 5 years ago or 5 years from now, who do you think you have a better time fighting? Like, who would give you the better odds?
Probably 5 years ago.
Really? So you think 5 years from now you're gonna be in a better shape to fight?
Yeah, well, I think more so mentally than anything. I don't think me 5 years ago would have ever been able to fight, regardless of physical condition. But every year, I come closer and closer to seeing myself in a place where I could fight someone if I needed to.
You just hone that mental edge to an obsidian point.
Exactly, just like
Nice.
that.
Do I have to pick? I feel like I'll lose either way.
Well, yeah, but which one?
I was gonna say, like, me 5 years ago and me 5 years in the future never wants to fight.
Worst point now? Are you at like your weakest point right now?
No.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, honestly, I would say that I am also.
I would say I'm pretty stable, so I presume.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I was better off 5 years ago, like emotionally speaking. And like,
Well, but
I
that's
expect it to get better 5 years from now too.
the good
Say what?
fighters are bad emotionally.
I don't know.
Personally, I feel like I just turned 30 last month, so like I'm basically at the peak of everything I can do physically. So from here, it's only going to get worse. So 5 years from now, I think I'd have a better chance. I think I would be pretty good against, unless I do some very significant life changes.
I was gonna say, are you sure that could become one of those anxious guys that gets really self-conscious about his body and then just gets really jacked up later in life?
I have thought about putting myself in a position where like I had to get strong to survive, where like I go like live like Walden style in the woods and try to like build a cabin and everything, where it's like, all right, either I'm gonna get the physical capability to like cut down trees and haul logs, or I'm gonna freeze in the wilderness. I think that's the only way that I could get above par right now.
I have never read Walden, but
Oh, me neither. I've never read any of the books they're referred to. Why would I?
knowing a reliable source, that Henry David Thoreau that son of a bitch was in town every other week. So,
I mean, well, yeah, it'd be so boring.
so for as much as a man in the woods he could be, he was not a man of the woods at all. He was very much.
I mean, so was Bear Grylls, right? Like that was the whole thing behind his show. Is his was the fake one, and the Survivor Man's was like the real one.
right.
Like Bear Grylls are just like staying in hotels and stuff and coming out and like I don't know. I guess I'll like squeeze water out of like elephant. And like Survivor Man's like, no, I had to like haul this camera on my back, set it up to just record me starting this fire. Like,
yeah. No, he's like, I just spent a night in the Four Seasons. I guess I'll go out into the wilderness and drink my own piss or something. Whatever a Survivor Man does. So this is a question that was asked 2 shows ago, but I like it. I think it's a good gauge of oneself, which is, if you were a fast food chain, which one would you be?
So I've never been to Jollibee, but like I feel like their energy vibes me very well. So I think I'd be a Jollibee.
Okay, now follow-up question: what is a Jollibee?
It's a Filipino restaurant chain.
Okay.
It's mostly based out on the West Coast, I believe. So I never went to one. Even when I lived in California, it was just a weird oddity to me that I just would like pass by and be like, I'll just stick with like Taco Bell things. But like, so they got so they have a lot of like Filipino like comfort food staples, like fried chicken, spaghetti. They have what's the dessert called? It's like halo halo or something. It's like a layered dessert where it's like just everything. It's like jello and like pudding and just I think there's like some cookie bits or like fruit and like a bunch of stuff just in it layered on top of each other. So and it's like it's not. But I just like the fact that they commit to their specific niche so hard, you know, because it's not very like fried chicken spaghetti, not a typical combo for Americans. But like no, we're doing food that we liked in like a fast food format, and we just have this chaotic energy to it that I appreciate.
I very much had this conversation on a previous episode of Indiepocalypse with Maria of I forget what issue. She does like tabletop lyric games and was literally in the Philippines. So hearing all of and I made one of those desserts. I forget what it's called, but it was like rice and chocolate, and you mix them together.
Nice.
But I forget what it's called. It's got some L's in it. I think a CH. But
I also love Filipino breakfast. I feel like Eastern Asia does breakfast better than us because it's just like it's really good savory food that just happens to be in the morning, and I like that a lot. It's like, yo, we got some garlic fried rice, we got some eggs, and we got like some cured sausage or some pork or whatever. Good stuff.
Does sound good.
Oh.
Returning to the question, I feel that my soul is inextricably linked with Wendy's after working at one for 4 years. So
Okay.
I can't imagine any other possibility.
You're kind of like a square patty kind of person.
I would say so. I like symmetry.
I think I enjoyed their fried chicken sandwiches.
Chicken's good. It was good however many years ago I worked there.
It's the best fast food item, I feel like.
What is?
The Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich, I feel like it's just like the number
Yeah.
one thing that
It's really good. It is quite good. I cannot, despite my grudge I hold, I cannot deny that I still crave Wendy's food often.
I wish it was there. I have to go to I don't pass one reasonably, but occasionally I would pass a Burger King on the highway, and I would also get spicy chicken. And then like sometimes I've found myself going to just like cheap fast food sometimes because I miss traveling, and it creates a sense of travel.
Yeah, I get you.
The time when you can have a Big Mac at like 7 a.m. in an airport, because what does time even mean anymore? What it's a construct. Who cares?
Mhm.
I'm in Toronto. I guess I'll have a Whataburger or something.
Wait, is that a Texas thing? Do they Whataburger in Canada?
No, it's a Wahlburgers, I think.
Oh, Wahlburger. Okay, I think I said
Yeah. I did say
Whataburger.
Whataburger, but I think I was wrong. I think it was a Wahlburgers, which is close enough, I think, geographically.
Like I'm not a healthy person, but one of the few rules I do hold to is if I'm gonna have like terrible junk, I need to either be like in transit or I have to walk to it.
Yeah.
And so right now the closest like actual fast food is over a mile away, so I don't have fast food very often.
Yeah, same. The only things that are like near me right now are a bunch of like pretty good Vietnamese restaurants for the most part.
I have a Domino's 3 minutes from my house.
Right? Well, yes, I also have that on the block that I live on, but I don't do that one often. But I can get pho whenever I want, and that's really good.
Oh yeah, I love pho. Man, I don't know, just that's my favorite of the of like the staple like noodle soup.
Yeah.
Like ramen's good. I like ramen too, but it's like
Yeah.
kind of greasy sometimes and kind of heavy, and like pho.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Pho is just like in the middle of the day. I just want something like pretty clear that's like nice and savory. I can make it spicy if I want to. Yeah, ramen could be a little bit much sometimes for me.
Oh, I looked
Man,
it up.
I had ramen in Japan and I'm now spoiled forever.
Oh, well, that's a different story.
Ramen in Japan is so good.
That
Yeah, but at the same time though, like Japanese people aren't locked to Japan. It's not like there's this weird idea where it's like the food is only real if it comes from like the one place. But
That's
it's like,
true. That's true.
No, I understand, but I haven't found a single place yet that like in the US, I haven't been to a single place where like the ramen was as good as what I had in Japan. I know it's out there. I just haven't found it yet.
Well, there you go. We got to go to GDC again. We got to hook you up, and like we won't stop until we find the place. Screw the actual convention.
I'm pretty sure there doesn't exist one in Austin at the very least, because I've been to the ramen places in Austin, and I don't think any of them come close.
Yeah, I have to drive like an hour to get to even to be able to purchase ramen.
Wait, where are you at?
I'm in Massachusetts, but not in like a city.
Oh, I was say even in like I'm in Ferndale, which is like a suburb of Detroit, like the Metro Detroit area, and there's still some decent like Japanese food around here. It's pretty. I don't know. It's pretty good.
I have a Thai restaurant nearby, but they don't have. Well, the Japanese place I have nearby is like a steakhouse, and they don't have ramen. They have like udon and stuff, like other noodles, but it's mostly like a sushi and steakhouse place.
Oh, udon can be really good too.
Yeah.
But also,
I just miss the actual restaurant experience. Like, I don't know. I just can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Turns out this show, instead of like alleviating the anxiety of not being able to go out, and it actually makes it worse, because now it's like, now I'm not going to a place where I know nobody. There's theoretically, I would like, oh, now I could theoretically go to an event and I would know people who are there, and it makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that Filipino rice pudding dish was champorado. I looked it up.
I've not heard of that one, but I would be down to try it.
It's very easy to make. It's rice and bitter chocolate and like evaporated milk.
And I love bitter chocolate, and like my current roommate like hates like anything that tastes like even remotely bitter. Like even like regular milk chocolate, he still detects like the bitterness in, and that's like all he tastes.
Yeah.
Like I just feel so bad for someone who is cursed with that affliction. The same thing with like people who taste cilantro as soap. Like I love cilantro. I will like if I get a bunch of cilantro, I'll just chew on it because there's more than I can ever use.
No,
I'm with you.
So good.
There's a place near my house called Cilantro.
What do they
It's a
what do
Thai
they
restaurant.
have there? Okay.
I was hoping it's like a bookstore or something. It's like that. Like I feel like you guys should probably change your name. I see, and I get hungry. I'm not hungry for words. I'm hungry for food.
Right. No, there used to be a bookstore that I enjoyed because it was like a warehouse, like bargain bookstore, and then they closed. That was in a mall where everything is closing. It doesn't have a food court anymore. I was there recently. The first time I was there, I was like, oh, the mall pizza's gone. If I can't get mall pizza, we're truly in the end times. And now there's not even a food court anymore. They took all the chairs.
Personally, I'm good with never going to a mall again in my life.
Oh, they're like weird relics, and I like visiting them.
Yeah, I went to one recently, and it was just so surreal.
Like I like most when they have something like cool, because when they have the dedicated just like an FYE or whatever, where it's just like here's a bunch of like media, and then also just weird like pop culture artifacts, and get yourself some Naruto headbands or whatever. It's I like that thing. It's funny.
Yeah, you're bringing me back around. If malls are the only place I've ever seen a Hot Topic, and if I ever do see a Hot Topic, I will walk in there no matter what age I am.
Is Newberry Comics a regional thing?
Newberry
I've never heard of that.
Okay, so yes, it is. That's my quote. That's what I think of. The thing with records and comics in a wall of Funko Pops is Newberry Comics.
I think Spencer's is the one that I'm familiar with.
There's the one fancy mall nearby, a little down the road. That just has like, if I was into actually fashion and looking nice, then it would be great because they have a lot of those stores. But then like zero like actually fun, cool things. So there's no like bookstore. There's no electronics store besides like an Apple store. But they do got a Shake Shack. So it's like, all right, that's like one saving grace. I'm down for some Shake Shack.
Are you saying fashion's not fun? Because let me tell you something about fashion. Okay, that I lied. That's the other thing I like to spend money on, but sometimes it's clothes because I like to buy clothes.
Virtual fashion is fun. I love dressing up my characters all nice. That was the only reason I played Final Fantasy 14 is to have a giant cool. And then I got looking cool, and it's like I'm done. I have the perfect outfit. Like, there's other more expensive things. Yeah, there's stuff that's being auctioned for like millions of gold, but I don't want that. I got my thing, my gladiator chest plate thing, some fancy paints. Like that's all I wanted.
I need it all. I've been for the past couple years on and off. I've been into the Final Fantasy 14 roleplay scene, and you gotta have your outfits right.
Wait, you're saying you don't play Final Fantasy 14 to grind up every character class to level 80?
Well, I also do that incidentally, so I can wear all the clothes specific to different jobs.
But you need to grind up all the things so that you know which gear you can throw away and which gear you need to save, because
my inventory's a mess.
Okay, so I used to play WoW fairly. That was like my go-to. Like an expansion would come along, I would play it, I would drop out, and then another expansion come along, and I like to see numbers go up. Then I tried Final Fantasy 14, and it filled that niche for me.
I have played a lot of Final Fantasy 14. It has become one of my favorite games somehow.
Yeah, it's it's weird. If we can dive into Final Fantasy 14 a little too much, I kind of wish those. Sometimes I wish those. When people are like, Final Fantasy 15 there's all guys, and it's like, well, because all the women are in Final Fantasy 14 apparently.
And they're all dying in the story.
Yeah, sometimes I wish like, what if these characters were in a game that like was not an MMO? That might be interesting.
So like Dissidia?
Yeah. that's the real monkey's paw.
That's the monkey's paw.
I wish Dissidia's story was more interesting.
I feel like because I'm not big into MMOs in general. Like just the whole like loop of like acquiring numbers stuff doesn't appeal to me usually. But like the one thing I liked in Final Fantasy 14 that I don't understand isn't like why it's not the just the default is having one character that can be every class.
Yes.
Because like the idea of having to like start a whole new like identity for a thing if you want to be like a warlock versus like a mage is just
right.
Like I don't understand. Like I spent 200 hours with this guy. I don't want to like abandon them for something else. It'd feel awful.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it's a nightmare because I can also just be like, oh, I want to level up a new character class now. I can just press 2 buttons, and now I am a paladin. Oops! Now my paladin's level 70.
Oops.
I don't have like a very specific daily routine that I use, and good thing main story gives me a lot of free time to do other stuff while there are cutscenes.
Yeah, totally. I do a lot of my drawing while I'm in main scenario roulette.
I love the Praetorium, whatever one it is, because it's got very long cutscenes.
Oh, the one unskippable one.
Yeah, you get a bunch of experience and all the free time you could ever want.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and that one. Okay, is this just me, or is one cutscene louder than all the others?
I don't recall.
I usually have it muted. I gotta say, I gotta be honest.
I was gonna say because I feel like the one is louder, but it might be in my imagination. I didn't know. Anyway, this is not the Final Fantasy 14 cast. We're talking about Final Fantasy 14.
I mean, I spent most of my time talking about card games, so it's like this is a space for all ideas and things.
Why do you even talk about horsemanship? I feel disrespected. Horsemanship. It's a text that like two or three cards in Magic the Gathering have back from like 3 portals.
Oh, yeah,
or something.
it was like flying, but it was like thematically based on like the Legend of the Three Kingdoms or whatever that.
I think it was called 3 Portals or something.
Yeah. Dude, I love games when they're in an early stage where the developers don't really understand what the game's about themselves, you know? Because like most games like that, when they're released, you have an idea of what it means, but like players get to decide what it means. So you could be like, well, we assumed this is going to be a lot more meaningful, but people don't like it. So I guess that's not what our game is anymore.
Yes, that's when I said like modern card games feel too clean. They feel like somebody thought them out too much and planned too well.
I've been playing the video game version of Yu-Gi-Oh lately,
Okay.
and that's fun.
There is-
I like it because the like campaign mode is you just go through all the battles that happened in the story of the anime. So like going through the battles that I remember, they have like the decks set up of those characters to like play off each other in like a dramatic way because they were written to do so in like a TV show, you know. So it feels very satisfying.
Yu-Gi-Oh, like just the fact that they've committed to like just keeping this game going forever without doing traditional rotations. The hardest possible design scenario I can think of for a game.
I respect it, and I
It's
was
so
trying
funny.
to. I will look it up at some point and put it into our secret private Discord. But there is like a Beanie Tuesday, I think that's his name, tweet where it's like Magic versus Yu-Gi-Oh, like card descriptions, and the Magic one is like thoughtful moves or thoughtful decision. It's like look at the top 3 cards, pick one of them, shuffle the other ones midway through your deck, and it's 2 guys like thinking about things, you know, and like they have
Mhm.
funny hats, and Yu-Gi-Oh is like, I'm evil hot dog.
Yeah.
It's like Chromega Thermal Collider. Like shuffle two collider cards from your graveyard into your deck, and then take 2 cards from the top of your deck and put them into your hand. As long as you have 3 chroma cards, like it's man,
Yeah.
I can't like I can't
Tweet.
parse it.
My favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card that I've discovered through playing this game is called Fairy Witch, and the description just reads, was a fairy but then decided to become a witch, and I respect that a lot.
I also have very like nostalgia for an era that I did not participate in is like old Magic cards when like there wasn't like a house style for each one, and it was just like the weirdest bullshit people would come up with. Anyway,
So, are we done?
what?
I keep going about Magic cards.
No, I could. That's why that was me rating myself in, and I love historic and Magic because it's like here's all the dumb bullshit that like combos and is chaotic and it makes people mad and angry. I'm a dirty goblin player and I love it.
So like my favorite Magic card in the entire game is a Dwarven Song.
Okay.
It was a 1 mana red card from way early on, and the full text of it is it's an instant, changes the color of 1 or more target creatures to red until end of turn. You choose which and how many creatures are affected. Cost to tap, maintain, or use a special ability of target creatures remains entirely unchanged. And so I like it because it's so much text that's unnecessary to the point where like the updated text is just 1 or more target creatures become red until end of turn. And I just love that they clarified that like, okay, it's changing just one thing. It doesn't change these other unrelated things. Because imagine if every card said that. Because every card could say like, yo, deal 3 damage to a target creature. This does not change the color of the creature. Doesn't change the owner of the creature, the cost of the creature. Like it doesn't change, and it just deals the damage. Okay, it's like, well, yeah, that's the assumption. I read the card and do what it says. I don't know why. I love that they early on they had no concept of brevity or clarity.
Also, this is exceptional art.
It is very good. It's 3 pointy-nosed, bearded guys who all look like they're like trying to say "well, actually" to each other. Well, actually.
Well, you see, actually, you can still tap for different color manas if you want to. And
actually, I prefer the mithril over the elven silver because it's slightly lighter while still providing durability for dwarves.
I love a Magic card.
I'm getting lost in the sauce, just like on the second line of this thing, just getting lost.
I love Magic.
It's so long.
I love cards that have that
card in Magic, and you get to choose because that's how cards work. Like the card doesn't have to specify like, you know, it's like counter target spell. Like you get to choose the spell. Oh, cool! I get to target it. All right, like yeah. It's because they hadn't invented the word target yet before that, so everything had to be choose. But then target was a way to simplify all that shit.
Yeah. I love when Magic cards have that much text and it's just all flavor. It's like, wow, look at all this text on this card. Oh, it's a fucking like poem.
You know what other card game I love?
Yeah.
Bot and Kaitos to the Nintendo GameCube entertainment system.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's what
yes,
too.
yes.
I heard
Charizard.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Button K.
Arabian Nights was the most fantastic set. They had a card. It was Lamp in a Bottle, I think, where if another person, or it basically just banned people from playing other Arabian Nights cards while it was on the battlefield, which was fucking silly. But yeah, Shahrazad is fantastic because it makes you play Magic to play Magic.
It's beautiful. It's all card games should aspire to be Charizard. Oh, Shahrazad.
Yeah, there was
No.
it was like CCG Jam or something where it was like make a card game, and so I was researching old Magic cards, and I was like, oh man, because I used to play like old shit,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh, Arabian Nights actually was even worse than I remember, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's a beautiful mess of like conflicting design, and everything about it is my favorite. It's a little cleaner now. I wish they still just like went hog wild with it and just kind of just made shit up.
I mean, they do like now they're cleaner, but they are definitely still very complex. This last set has like dual face cards where one side's a planeswalker and the other side's a vehicle. So it's like, what, like
Foretell as a concept. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Okay. We're just getting in the weeds of Magic the Gathering at this point. Anyone else? Let's get into plugs before we just you're talking about triggering my trap cards. You got me talking about Magic the Gathering. So we're gonna get the plugs. Sophie, what have you got to plug?
Mostly my itch, I suppose. sopy.itch.io, sopy.itch.io,
EO.io.
And my Twitter, soapy, SOPY crystals at twitter.biz. Episode 2 of Spare Parts is going to come out sometime this spring.
Yes,
so
there's a pitch page for it. Even. Perfect. I'm going clockwise, which makes sense if you're here, not if you're listening to this later. Ava, what have you got to plug?
I guess for now I'll just plug the narrative scripting language that I made that I talked about earlier. It's called Rumor. You can find it pinned on my GitHub profile page at github.com/exodrifter.
I hear you make music too. Is that out?
Oh yeah, I make music too. I released a new music album in January this year. You can find that on my website at exodrifter.space.
Perfect. You might have heard some of those songs played on this very radio show. They're good stuff. Indiepocalypse radio show stamp of approval.
Thanks. And I also normally stream music production every week, but things have been a little crazy lately, so I haven't started that back up. But soon.
I believe even if you checked on this, I believe you are even hosted on this. You're one of my auto hosts, I think.
Oh, awesome.
I try to make I use this page once a week, so I try to auto host all, past contributors where I can.
But yeah, I host, I just like make music every week usually. Cool. And it's fun. It's a good time.
Steven, plugs.
Yeah, so you can find, I dropped it in the chat just now, but my game Wave Crash at the flyovergames.itch.io/wavecrash, or also just wavecrashgame.com currently redirects there. Maybe the website eventually, probably not.
I don't use websites nowadays when redirects you do all that for you.
Yeah, redirects or link trees or whatever. I mean, fancy websites are cool and all, but I just want to get to people just want to get to where they can get the game. So, and yeah, don't do music really, just kind of in the gaming sphere. Maybe doing some more teaching at Lawrence Tech University. So if you want to take a class taught by me, go sign up for the next fall semester or whatever.
Is GLGX going on tomorrow as well?
Yeah, GLGX is still continuing tomorrow. GLGX.dev is where you can find all the schedule for that. There'll be some more talks. And we also have a games showcase lineup that a lot of games have free demos going on. So check those out too.
And Damien, finally, what have you got to plug?
I'll plug my website. It's cannibalinteractive.itch.io. That has all my jam games, my full games, my prototypes, all of that stuff. Also, like, I do a bunch of other random stuff. Like, I have a small book of haikus and some tabletop games and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
You can publish whatever you want on it. Ain't no rules.
Yeah. On Twitter, you can find me as the worst RPG dev. And then right now I'm also running Nemesis Jam on itch.io, which will, it's pretty much near the end here. So whenever people are just listening to this, it'll definitely be over, but there's going to be good games in that. So yeah, that's the stuff to watch there.
Well, perfect. And me, as you know, I think you should go to indiepocalypse.com and buy Indiepocalypse. It's a good thing. Go to indiepocalypse.com/Patreon. Just subscribe to the Patreon. Even at $1, hey, I turned on the cool channels in the Discord now. So now if you're a patron, you get to go to the secret patron channel, which I don't know if people would use that, but people like those kind of things. Or if you're a contributor, we have a cool secret contributor channel where I talk more and you get to see all of my cool gifts that I make. I make a lot of artisanal. Well, I don't have an artisanal gift business. What am I talking about? Let's get back to business. Indiepocalypse.com/radio. It's here. Subscribe. If you got that Twitch Prime thing just sitting around, just, hey, add it to this. And then I take all that Amazon money and I roll around in it, all $6 of it.
It all has Bezos' face on it, though, which is weird.
Not anymore. It's officially, I call it like Gassy Cash. I made up some bullshit name for it because there's a new CEO.
That's part of his that's part of his parachute as he got to keep the space on all the monies from Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Indiepocalypse.com/submit if you have games that you want to submit to Indiepocalypse. Indiepocalypse.com/zine if you want to submit stuff for the zine. I'm doing something with that. I feel like that's going to go through a restructuring soon as I come up with more ideas for like what I want that to be and how I want that to be like a thing that's more consistent. I think that's all of my links. Maybe we're at the part of the show again where I once again open my hover page and say, did I remember all my redirects? And I think I did. Yeah, that's it. There's a newsletter if you want to get emailed about once a week. Indiepocalypse.com/newsletter. Oh, /Discord will get you the Discord. Same. Indiepocalypse, whatever, you get the idea. Just type /whatever after Indiepocalypse and you'll find something, I'm sure. Maybe it's a dead page. Anyway, we're ending the show now. Thank you all for being here. I'm glad to have you all. Oh, please, no.
You're welcome.
I don't take compliments. I take them and throw them away because
I'll take them.
Yeah, I'll give them away to somebody else. I can't handle them.
Great
Okay.
job.
Goodbye, everyone. Say your goodbyes. I'm going to the end.
Farewell.
Thank you.
Remember your own therapy.
See you.